mistaken, if they were planning to do an extension with Siakam as well, because then you can trade him at the start of July free agency. So that's what's curious to me. I understand the plan, or at least where it was and what they were thinking at one point, but I think either you're all in on that or you're all out on that. But at some point here, like, these guys are going to hit free agency. You've got to either trade them, or do everything you can to keep them, and they're not doing either of those things right now.
Well, hopefully they can beat the Wizards tonight. And then the Detroit Pistons on Saturday, because if not, oh boy, I don't even want to imagine what type of stuff we'll be talking about on this radio station. Josh, a very Merry Christmas, Happy New Year to you and your family. Look forward to chatting again in 2024.
Happy holidays, guys. All the best.
So yeah, that's Josh Lewinberg, TSN Raptors reporter. So frustrating, man. Like, I honestly, like, talking about the Raptors right now just gets my blood boiling because they are completely directionless. I really am unsure if they have any idea what they're doing, because I know they tried to get Lillard to put around Siakam, Anunoby, Barnes, and Pirtle. Mm-hmm. So you have like a contender. That was the idea. You trade all your draft picks. Mm-hmm. You have Lillard with all the guys you currently have. Imagine how that would have gone considering what we've already seen this year. It's just so uncertain. And again, if you have this idea that new free agency is trading for unhappiness, like, who is going to be happy coming here right now? To the Toronto Raptors, an organization which has no direction other than losing basketball games and seemingly be discontented on the floor night after night.
Well, look, you got to spin it positively and say, look, Scotty Barnes is emerging.
Yes.
As a star player, shooting his three ball in a way we never thought he'd shoot it, which turns his game into a whole new threat to the opposition, because, you know, you got to respect the jumper. He's got all kinds of moves off the dribble, and he distributes the ball well. And we're going to see tonight. Like, I think tonight's going to be interesting because Scotty Barnes, as more of a distributor, in limited sample sizes, has been very good. And now you see Scotty Barnes with a jump shot and in more of a distributing role with Dennis Schroeder not on the starting lineup, and a shooting threat in Gary Trent Jr. now on the court when Dennis Schroeder did not provide the same threat. Different landscape.
Scotty Barnes, yes. That is definitely the redeeming quality, but beyond that, I don't know what you got. But Scotty Barnes, you might have something really special here.
Well, I'm just saying.
Yes. I appreciate positive Dave Feschuk.
Well, I'm just trying to offer the counter. Look, I'm with you on the fact that I've been saying for a long time that Masai Ujiri has to pick a lane. He hasn't done it. On the other hand, he does have some pieces. And
this reminded me of why he made the Leafs team.
If Dame Lillard got here,
he would start the play with a takeaway and then be in position to finish it off.
Yeah.
So
was he going to pick these
away,
teammates
distributing it
over
it comes back
Giannis?
to you.
No, there was no chance.
Probably not.
Fraser Minton is never.
We'll see how it goes. Raps Wizards tonight. Leafs Senators tonight on TSN 1050. We've got my FanDuel best bets to wrap up a very busy Wednesday afternoon. TSN 2 and on TSN 1050.
Is perhaps most attractive.
Time now for TSN 1050 Time Saver Traffic.
How much he talks on the bench and how much.
Starting off with the Gardner, things are not looking too good if you're heading eastbound. Just before Spadina, a crash has two left lanes closed. That's causing some very heavy delays on approach. Good news up on the 400, south on ramp to the eastbound 401 collectors. We had a crash in the left lane. That's now clear. Taking a look at the 400, westbound at the southbound 427, we have a crash blocking the left lane and eastbound collectors at Victoria Park. A stalled vehicle there has the center lane closed.
The college football playoff semifinals are on SiriusXM. Monday at 5 Eastern, a pair of perennial powerhouses square off in the Rose Bowl as Alabama faces undefeated Michigan.
To the end zone! Touchdown! J.J. McCarthy! Touchdown! Wolverines!
Then at 8:45, it's Texas and Washington in the Sugar Bowl.
QB sneak, he's in! Touchdown, Michael Penix!
Hear the national broadcast on SiriusXM Channel 80. Catch the hometown calls on Channel 82 and 84, or listen on the SiriusXM app.
The best player analysts and insiders live on NHL Network Radio. Mike Johnson.
5-on-5 defensive game for Tampa is getting to the point, Gord, where it is a concern. And it's not just because Vasilevsky hasn't played the entire season. They're giving up almost 4 goals a game. No matter how good your offense is, that's not going to be able to be sustainable.
Get the latest opinion and analysis you need on the home of hockey, NHL Network Radio, SiriusXM 91, and the SiriusXM app. The Power Play with Steve Koulias.
Not only is Sidney Crosby one of the greatest, probably top 5 NHL players of all time, and there's some non-hockey people in Pittsburgh that don't want to hear this, he's as good and as important as anyone who's ever played for the Pittsburgh Steelers. Whether you want to understand that or not, Put that in your pipe and smoke it.
The Power Play, weekdays 3 p.m. Eastern on NHL Network Radio, Sirius XM 91, and the Sirius XM app. 24/7 hockey talk.
One of the greatest goaltenders of all time, Patrick Waugh. When you put your hands up, did you know at that moment that you were done?
No, I did not. Unfortunately, it happened. Just gave me a chance to have a fresh start somewhere else and be traded to Colorado was a good opportunity. Sometimes you need that little, change, and it was welcome for me.
Sirius XM, NHL Network Radio, Sirius XM 91, and on your schedule with the Sirius XM app. The Point with Boomer Gordon.
18 months ago, I had New Flyers head coach John Tortorella. And I asked him what he was worried about the club, and he said, I don't like the room. We have a bad room. And I'm like, you haven't even coached this team yet. A year and a half later, John Tortorella loves his room. He loves this team, and he loves that they compete every night.
Point with Boomer Gordon. 1 p.m. Eastern on NHL Network Radio, Sirius XM 91, and the Sirius XM app.
If you're a soccer fan, you know that this music means one thing. The Champions League is on Sirius XM FC.
Hat-trick for Erling Haaland! Kane scores!
The top teams from around Europe are battling for club soccer's holy grail.
Real Madrid do what they do best. What a start for Inter!
Hear all the top Champions League matches all tournament long on Sirius XM FC 157 and streaming on the Sirius XM app.
Join me, Gord Stellick, and Scott Laughlin as we recap the night that was on NHL Morning Skate, weekday mornings at 7 a.m. Eastern on NHL Network Radio, Sirius XM 91.
So not only is it a long time ago, it's a different time.
It's hard to do this. It's hard to do this in the moment, but it just feels more and more like we have to simply just appreciate Austin Matthews every night. He's the kind of player.
Absolutely.
He's the kind of player that organizations pine for.
Oh, makes your scouting staff look brilliant because you don't need to draft the number one center. He's there for the next however many years he's here for.
I saw a great tweet the other day, and your friend and mine, Frankie Corrado, has kind of talked about this a little bit on Twitter. I think we need to have some kind of parade for the 2015-16 Leafs roster because what they did that season paved the way, and they were able to secure the future of Austin Matthews in this city forever.
You weren't doing the post game on those particular games, and I know that it was a struggle.
Yeah,
because we should have recorded one and just looped it. It was the same every night.
And you know what? You talked to players that year, the Morgan Rileys, and I remember even talking to Nazem Kadri about that.
Yeah.
It was tough.
Oh, right? It's Groundhog Day every night. Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
Yeah. And especially when they didn't score first. You'd see the sag and you go, oh, okay. I know it's on the post game now. Yeah. Couldn't happen.
Do you have another one for me?
I want to segue into something because
I'm all ears.
It may take a couple of minutes to explain this.
Okay.
But as I was in the last commercial break, I was thinking of a way to describe what that thing I said where you can't hear yourself.
Yep.
It doesn't make any sense to anybody. So here's the thing: on the bad golf swing, you bring the club back and you go, "I'm going to do this." Right? Here's what I'm going to do. Click, click, click. I'm going to do that. And as you do it, everything that you wanted to do doesn't happen all the way through. That destroys your thought process.
Right.
When I'm talking about being on the air, which I think has some sort of similarity to the goaltending, you'll say a sentence, and when you're ad-libbing, as I'm doing right now, it creates the next sentence.
Yep.
But when you're in that weirdo spot, you'll say the sentence, and you mentally stop and go, what did I just say? And as soon as you do that, you can't move forward. So that may be what he's going through. He makes a save, doesn't know how he made it, and is analyzing it before. When he's playing well, he doesn't do any of that. It's a headspace.
People call it the flow state, when you are able to act and perform without thinking.
Right.
That's when you are at your best.
There's a mental hesitation that unravels everything. Do I make any sense?
You always make a ton of sense to me, Tapman. But I don't know how you get out of that funk.
Well, you just have to put your head down and forget it. Like you almost have to
that's
stop.
That's easier said than done.
I know, well, especially when you're playing goal in the NHL. But I think you just have to stop listening to yourself and just go ahead and do it. But again, much easier said than done.
We're talking about one of the 5 most difficult positions genuinely in professional sports.
I could fix a bad golf swing by just doing that, or I could fix my broadcast work by not listening to myself and just plowing forward. How you do that in front of 20,000 people with your teammates depending on you in a tight hockey game, good luck.
This is why the Leafs are able to do all these kind of reclamation projects that they've done in the past, the Alex Galchenyuks of the world, Josh Ho-Sang, because they believe they have the resources off the ice to help players, to fix players. Part of me wonders if that's where they're investing a lot of time right now, is just listening to Ilya Samsonov, helping him off the ice, because I really think at his best, he's a technically sound goalkeeper. But we have to remember all these external factors. He's a young dad, right? Which can be one of the most trying times. And this is, a lot of people are going to be listening and saying, well, you know, woe is me, whatever, right? Yeah. It's such a trying time for a person. And I think if we learn anything from this, it's that, you know, patience with a goaltender can be a virtue, and also,
well, you're investing in the person, too.
You're investing in the person.
Which is what you're trying to say there.
Look, haven't the Leafs done really, really well, though, to identify gaps in their entire organization? We're talking about now, maybe the Leafs bring up Dennis Hildeby. I don't think they should. Behind him, they have other really talented goalkeepers coming up, Artur Akhtiamov. The Leafs have identified how difficult it is to play goalkeeper in Toronto, and they have invested more into drafting and developing goalkeepers, because we've seen it before. We saw Campbell, we're seeing it now with Ilya Samsonov. It is a really, really difficult position to put yourself in as a person, and they have got to figure out how to make sure that this kind of situation doesn't keep happening. Because, again, it's one thing if it's just Jack Campbell, but now you're just adding things up, and that's where it's starting to look really tricky.
Well, it is tricky to work it out, because you don't want it to get any worse while you're repairing it. And it could get worse.
Sure it could. It's trending that way right now.
So we're going to set up the opening face-off for you next. The Ottawa Senators in here at Scotiabank Arena against the Toronto Maple Leafs. The Yes Guy, this is Leafs Game Night on TSN 1050, the iHeartRadio app, and the Leafs Radio Network.
NHL All-Star Thursday is coming to Toronto with 3 exciting events in one star-filled night. First, celebrity captains select their teams in the Tim Hortons NHL All-Star Player Draft. Then, the 1967 Stanley Cup champion Maple Leafs are honored in the NHL Alumni Man of the Year. And finally, the best in women's hockey compete in the Canadian Tire PWHL 3-on-3 Showcase. It's NHL All-Star Thursday on February 1st. Buy tickets now starting at $44 at NHL.com/Thursday.
There are many peculiar words in the English language. Words like salivigant, peregrinate, nemophilus, peripatetic, and conviviality. Yet, there is no word for getting the most out of winter in your Subaru, thanks to symmetrical full-time all-wheel drive and X-Mode. Until now. We call it unhibernate. As in, while your neighbors stay home, you'll be unhibernating all winter in your Subaru. So peregrinate to your local Subaru dealer today, and welcome to uncommon winter confidence.
Want to be certain your reno goes right? Start with Pro Materials with CertainTeed Drywall. In fire resistant, water resistant, super durable, or soundproof and top quality insulation. Ceiling systems, premium shingles, and siding. Do it right with professional grade building materials from CertainTeed. Pro all the way.
Alpine News Network is here live with one of our superheroes.
It's a bird. It's a plane. Oh, it's just me helping the city with my super strength. And help is what we did for Dave and Keith. They wanted a new living room and were approved for a home renovation loan. I'm invited to their next potluck, and I'm bringing my famous hero dip. I basically just melt a jar of cheese with my super heat vision.
Own your home? Need a loan? Alpine Credits can help.
Alpine Credits, where homeowners get approved. Just for license 12616.
The Leafs starting their run to 2024 with a game at home to the Ottawa Senators tonight. In case you have forgotten, they're coming off a 4-1 in Columbus 4-1 win in Columbus Saturday. A good response to disaster in Buffalo last week. So you may be wondering, is this the start of a good run? Well, let's find out. Molson Canadian Leafs hockey starts now.
It's time for Molson Canadian Leafs hockey on TSN 1050 and the Leafs Radio Network. The Leafs live here.
Welcome to Molson Canadian Leafs hockey live on TSN 1050 and the Leafs Radio Network, live from Scotiabank Arena. The Leafs hosting the Ottawa Senators. Joe Bone and Jimmy Rouse standing by. Jim Taddy reporting here with Josh Cloak from The Athletic, going over the Leafs and Sens. The starting lineup is brought to you by Molson Canadian. Whether it's Canadian Ultra Export or Excel, there's a Molson with your name on it. And we expect it to look like this. Matthews between Marner and Nyes. Tavares between Nylander and Bertuzzi. Domi centering Yarncroke and Robertson. Cam centering Gregor and McMahon. And on the blue line, and we'll update this if there are any changes, Riley, Brody, McCabe, Liljegren, and Benoit and Lagesson, and Jones starts in goal. What do you make of all that?
I'm keeping my eye on the third line, right? Sheldon Keefe kind of alluded to his growing concern with the third line lately. And I think that I think Sheldon Keefe needs that third line to be a lot more defensively responsible if they want to see the ice more. Their ice totals, like if you consider, Max Domi as a player, Nick Robertson, right? These are guys that should be seeing the ice a lot more. Their 5-on-5 ice time isn't what you think it should be. So I think it's still kind of a work in progress, but it's notable to me that Sheldon Keefe's kind of confidence isn't dipping, but he's keeping an eye on that team. So another great opportunity for the third line, not just to put some points on the board, but to, be a little more defensively responsible.
I find that when Ottawa plays the Leafs, much like when Buffalo plays the Leafs, you don't really care about what happened before, the week or so before, on either side, because these games take on a life of their own, don't they?
For sure. I mean, you walked into that Buffalo game and it just felt like chaos was impending, right? So, yeah, I mean, these are the kind of games coming off, you alluded to this off the hop, games coming off a long break. It's a recipe for a little bit of chaos. It's a recipe for things to get weird. I don't think we should expect the most, technically precise game tonight, right? I think we should expect some kind of heavy legs at points. Depending on, how much gravy players had, depending on, how many extra helpings of stuffing they helped themselves to. We'll see.
Yeah.
This is why, generally in these kind of games, it's the cream of the crop that rises to the top, and this is why they need Austin Matthews to be at his best to kind of set the tone early.
So we're going to hear from Coach Keefe now, and we're sort of talking about that. Here's Keefe on coming back from an extended break.
Yeah, I think the difficulty is just kind of the uncertainty. You never know. Sometimes, you overthink it and you get out and the guys are great. They're refreshed and excited to get back and play. And then sometimes looks like it, like you haven't skated and you're out of your routine, all that kind of stuff. So you're never quite sure, but energy was good this morning. So, to that end, we're happy with how the morning went. It seemed like the guys were and are refreshed and excited to get back playing.
Is there a bit of a clean slate feel to it, Sheldon, you think?
I don't know if I'd say that, Terry, just because I don't feel that way. Like, I think it's, to me, Columbus game is still kind of fresh in my mind anyway, and we went through some things this morning that we liked and didn't like from the other night that we want to continue to build on. So from that perspective, I feel like it's enough time away that you can get some rest and refresh and get away, but also, you're still pretty connected to what has been going on with the team. But it is a bit of it's not the halfway point, obviously, but it's a marker on the schedule. It gives you a chance to kind of breathe and step back a little bit. But I still think we're, pretty much connected to where we were at as a team.
Martin Giordano, what's his status? How close is he?
Yeah, he's not going to play tonight. He's real close. We'll get him a practice day tomorrow with a full practice day with the group and make a decision from there. But he's definitely close.
How about Ryan Reeves?
I don't have an update exactly on him. He hasn't skated yet, that I know of. So he's not close, I guess I would say to that end.
How close is Joseph Wall?
I haven't had a Wall update in a while, so he hasn't been on skates or anything like that. So he's, as we expected with that injury.
Sheldon Keefe getting us set for the Ottawa Senators. A neat scene inside. Everybody has their flashlight on their phone. It's next generation game night here. It's the holiday season, of course. And here's Mike Ross. So as part of the festivities, there are young hockey players on both offensive zones, if that makes any sense. Here's Mike Ross again. He's going to help us out understand what's going on for next generation game night. And they're lining up on just ahead of the blue line, so in the neutral zone at both ends of the ring.
Page one more time. Let's hear it for the next generation of Maple Leafs hockey.
Well, that was neat, and the ice is lit up with, I don't know how to describe it, like a graphic all over the offensive zones. They're getting set for the Leafs and the Ottawa Senators to take to the ice. Leafs in their next generation jerseys will be led by Martin Jones. Josh, so this is going to be a regular thing for a while, isn't it?
Until the weekend when they have a back-to-back, and we expect Martin Jones to play one and Ilya Samsonov to play the other. But yeah, I think from here on in, it's Martin Jones' time in Toronto. And I think his kind of calm, composed game, well, again, maybe not elite high-end, it's the kind of game right now that the Leafs need to just settle in, and we should be expecting a lot of 5-4 wins, I guess is what I'm alluding to.
I think you could tell in the background the Leafs have taken the ice.
You can.
Yes.
Fantastic description there.
I do a couple of things right, you may have noticed.
Well, your golf swing sounds like it's one of them. I'm really hoping you can give me some help this summer.
I don't think so. I talk a good game, as all golfers do.
Well, that's more than I can say. No, listen, like you said, this is Martin Jones' net right now. And this is why they acquired it. This could end up being one of Brad Treliving's better signings.
Yeah.
Right?
Oh,
Because
absolutely.
To have that kind of solid number 3, a lot of teams need that kind of goaltender. And the Leafs, they waited a little bit. They probably paid a little bit more than other teams would. But now they have him, and when they really need him.
Hey, if he gets taken on waivers, as goalies in the past have, where would they be now?
Well, they would have had to have made a trade, and they would have had to have given up a prime asset to do so, and that would have hurt them come deadline day.
So all the graphics on the scoreboard are next generation as well, which is great because there's a lot of kids in attendance, this being the holiday season. Leafs against the Ottawa Senators. Senators just snapped off a 6-game slide, and the Leafs with a 4-1 win in Columbus on Saturday night. We're going to step out. The opening face-off is next with Joe Bowen and Jimmy Ralph. This is Molson Canadian Leafs Hockey on TSN 1050, the iHeartRadio app, and the Leafs Radio Network.
Every fantasy football player has a date with destiny, and your time is now. It's Championship Week on SiriusXM Fantasy Sports Radio. Listen and dominate your competition with expert analysis from a fantasy perspective.
Don't just think of it through the lens of your own team. Think about who are the teams I'm going to be playing. Can I prevent their rosters from getting better?
Go home a champion or just go home. The Fantasy Football Playoffs.
This time of the year, I want upside.
Fantasy Sports Radio, Channel 87, and on the SiriusXM app.
The best player analysts and insiders live on NHL Network Radio. Mike Johnson.
5-on-5 defensive game for Tampa is getting to the point, Gord, where it is a concern. And it's not just because Vasilevsky hasn't played the entire season. They're giving up almost 4 goals a game. No matter how good your offense is, that's not going to be able to be sustainable.
You have the latest opinion and analysis you need on the home of hockey, NHL Network Radio, SiriusXM 91, and the SiriusXM app. The Power Play with Steve Koulias.
Not only is Sidney Crosby one of the greatest, probably top 5 NHL players of all time, and there's some non-hockey people in Pittsburgh that don't want to hear this, he's as good and as important as anyone who's ever played for the Pittsburgh Steelers. Whether you want to Understand that or not, put that in your pipe and smoke it.
The Power Play, weekdays 3 p.m. Eastern on NHL Network Radio, Sirius XM 91, and the Sirius XM app. 24/7 hockey talk.
One of the greatest goaltenders of all time, Patrick Waugh. When you put your hands up, did you know at that moment that you were done?
No, I did not. Unfortunately, it happened. Just gave me a chance to have a fresh start somewhere else and be traded to Colorado was a good opportunity. Sometimes you need that little, change, and it was welcome for me.
Sirius XM, NHL Network Radio, Sirius XM 91, and on your schedule with the Sirius XM app. The Point with Boomer Gordon.
18 months ago, I had New Flyers head coach John Tortorella. And I asked him what he was worried about the club, and he said, I don't like the room. We have a bad room. And I'm like, you haven't even coached this team yet. A year and a half later, John Tortorella loves his room. He loves this team, and he loves that they compete every night.
Point with Boomer Gordon. 1 p.m. Eastern on NHL Network Radio, Sirius XM 91, and the Sirius XM app.
If you're a soccer fan, you know that this music means one thing. The Champions League is on Sirius XM FC.
Hat-trick for Erling Haaland. He scores!
The top teams from around Europe are battling for club soccer's holy grail.
Real Madrid do what they do best. What a start for Inter!
Hear all the top Champions League matches all tournament long on Sirius XM FC 157 and streaming on the Sirius XM app.
Under review.
And if someone says, well, he's good in the room, you know what? They don't have a good in the room stat in the standings. I've yet to find that category. It's one of the most overplayed things. They better be good in the room. That's the least you better bring when you join a National Hockey League team.
Under review with Mick Kern, 11 a.m. Eastern on NHL Network Radio, Sirius XM 91, and the Sirius XM app.
Join me, Gord Stellick, and Scott Laughlin as we recap the night that was on NHL Morning Skate, weekday mornings at 7 a.m. Eastern on NHL Network Radio, Sirius XM 91.
Game. The play already underway. We played 10 seconds, but the face-off back at center ice. And the puck is dropped, and we are back underway as the Ottawa Senators to our left and the Toronto Maple Leafs to our right. And this game has started off at a snail's pace as it's been deflected up into the seats again. And I am going to apologize ahead of time for any misrepresentation of players' names as the Leafs are wearing their third jerseys again. And I am not a fan.
Well, next generation of broadcasters will have a lot better eyesight.
Oh,
yes,
need it. Yes, they will. Down into the Ottawa zone. Matthews trying to dig it out of the corner. Nyes was unable to help out. Marner steals, sends it to the net, and it deflected wide of the goal. Jonas Korpisalo starting in goal for the Senators as the Leafs have it again in front of the net for Marner. He doesn't shoot it. Works back towards the blue line. Tried to feed it in front of the net for Nyes. Nyes does a nice job of freeing the puck up. Swinging shot by Marner went wide of the net. Now Riley keeping it in. Riley with a shot that went wide. Down the boards comes Tavares. Tavares in with a shot. That trickled to the front of the net in front. Score! No! Bertuzzi had an entire open net. And that hit a stick and went over the net and the glass and out of play.
Artem Zub, I believe, is the defenseman for the Senators that denies Tyler Bertuzzi. A smart little play by Willie Nylander to throw it between the left skate of Korpisalo and the near post. Out to the top of the crease. Bertuzzi cannot believe it.
Neither could Morgan Riley. He was right there as well as Bertuzzi.
Bertuzzi hasn't scored in 12. And you're not going to get any closer than that.
Draw to the right of Korpisalo. Shot goes wide of the net by Bertuzzi off a face-off win, and the Leafs have started quickly. Here's Tavares back of the net. Nylander coming out with a shot. Korpisalo in the, what is that called again? Reverse VH?
Yes.
Yeah, well, he was down in the reverse VH, and he made the save. Brought back by Ottawa, stolen by the Leafs. A lead pass at center, looking for Nylander, was out of his reach. Now Tavares is able to steal at the blue line and carry down low and back of the net. Had it knocked off his stick, though, and out come the Senators. Get it down into the Leaf end for the first time in the period, and down into the corner it goes. Tavares unable to get it away from his man Batherson. Batherson with a shot right on. Good pad save made there by Martin Jones, who gets the call in goal for the Maple Leafs. We'll get to their statistics when we get an opportunity. Well, we can tell you Jones right now is 4-1-0, 2.79. As the Leafs bring it down into the zone. A shot from an angle taken by Bobby McMahon, had it blocked, and it comes back out into the center ice area. Down into the Leaf end. Brody going around back of the net. Punched it out to the blue line. Kept in by Ottawa. Drop pass and a shot. Jones a save. Another shot. Went wide of the net. Down into the corner it goes. Near side. Played back of the Toronto goal. Out of the reach of Riley. And so now here is Schmeichel trying to get it in front of the net. Down back to the point to Artem Zub. Zub will play it around back of the net. It's centered in front. Oh, and a good save there by Jones off his shoulder as he got down in the butterfly. Now backhand again, and Jones is covered up on it. So both teams have taken an opportunity to get things kind of wound up, and now we got some pushing and shoving at the side of the Toronto goal. Kostelic in there, but nothing more to develop from it. And we will tell you that Jonas Korpisalo is 6-11-0, 3.62 his goals against average.
Well, maybe under Jacques Martin, this is the fourth game in his return behind the bench for the Ottawa Senators. Of course, all those battles of Ontario feature Jacques Martin as the Ottawa Senator coach. 1-2 under Jacques Martin in his return, but has blown multi-goal leads in all three games, including the latest, which was an overtime win against Pittsburgh.
Nyes carries into the Ottawa zone, slid it into the corner, hustles in there after it, but can't come up with it. Matthews trying to steal, had it knocked away, and it is iced now by the Sens, but getting down there quickly was Brady Tkachuk to erase the icing. Leafs take the puck away from him, and Nyes will start up on the left wing. He gets to the blue line and chips it down into Ottawa territory. Hustling in there after it. Chychrun got it out, but now Marner has a chance. Marner in with a shot, just missed that far pipe. Kept alive by Matthews. Swung into the corner for Marner. Back for Matthews, and the pass bounced over his stick. Tkachuk working in the neutral zone, knocked down. Play goes down into the Ottawa zone, and the Senators are there to organize. Flipping it out at center. Riley settles it, plays it back into neutral ice. Quickly bought in by Robertson. Bouncing puck comes in front of the net to Domi, back in front of the goal. Domi, a backhand down. Korpisalo is able to cover up on it.
Boy, both teams guilty of turning the puck over in their own end. And the Leafs on a broken play very nearly jam one in, but Korpisalo does the two-pad stack. After the shot was blocked in front, Korpisalo had to move from his right to his left. I think that was Kelly Yarncroc that he took it off of.
12-1 by Toronto again. This time Robertson's shot was blocked. A deflection goes wide of the Ottawa goal. And the Senator Stützle trying to work it out, hit a skate, and it's still in the Ottawa end. Back to retrieve it is Bernard Dockert. And he'll get it to the line, but not out. And a one-timer by Robertson was blocked. Boy, a lot of give. I realize it's the Christmas season, but there have been a lot of gifts wrapped up here in the first 4 minutes and 34 seconds.
Shots on goal, just 3 apiece. Leafs have probably had the edge when it comes to high-danger scoring chances.
Well, especially the one that was deflected over the empty net. Let's start with that one.
But probably, 4 or 5 attempts right from inside the hash marks?
Yep.
And the Senators really was all in one shift that they were able to generate some scoring opportunities.
And a couple of familiar faces in behind that Ottawa bench as the Leafs have it back of the zone, and it is flipped out into the center ice area. And Daniel Alfredsson joining Jacques Martin. Puck into the Ottawa zones. Knocked off the boards then by Kubalik. And out at center ice, the Leafs will organize. Morgan Riley banks it in. Tavares goes into forecheck. Puck comes past him and then is launched high to center ice. Brody will get back there first and get it off now to Bertuzzi, who sends it up on the left wing for Riley. Riley's shot is gloved by Korpisalo, and a face-off will come in the Ottawa zone with 14:37 to go here in period number 1. There is no score.
Every team obviously has to deal with injuries, but the Ottawa Senators, you lose Thomas Chabot, which they have for the bulk of the season so far. There's a guy that's 30 minutes a game taken out of your lineup. And even though they've got depth up front, it's obvious.
Centering pass in front of the goal! Oh, what a chance Liljegren had! And he shot it wide. Puck kept in by Toronto. Nyes hustling after his numerical counterpart in Travis Hamonic. The puck comes back. The Leafs get another shot and score! Austin Matthews got a turnover. And guess what? Number 34 is back on the board. 15 goals in his last 10 games.
And his numbers against the Ottawa Senators have been absolutely ridiculous. For Austin Matthews, that is now 24 goals, and this is 32nd game against the Senators. Well, remember him scoring 4 in his first 2 periods against Ottawa. But here, this is, this was deflected right in front, Joe. Matthew Nyes may actually get this.
Right off the toe of his skate. Yes, I think you're right.
Either it was Matthew Nyes or the defenseman right behind him. But that just changed directions.
Ever so slightly. So we'll wait for the official announcement. The Leafs have the puck again in the offensive zone. At the blue line, here's Riley. Centering pass, they score! Bertuzzi in front of the net. And the Leafs have jumped out in front 2-0.
This is horrible coverage by the Ottawa Senators. And Tyler Bertuzzi, who missed an open net earlier, takes a great feed from Morgan Riley, who dances down the left wing boards. And before he gets to the bottom of the circle, looks out front, sees Bertuzzi is standing there set on the backhand to just redirect it past Korpisalo, and the Leafs very quickly, with 13:56 to go in the first, have taken a 2-0 lead.
6th goal of the season for Bertuzzi. The 2 goals come 23 seconds apart. And the Maple Leafs open up a 2-goal lead here early in this contest. And an icing call here against Toronto. I think they're going to look at this again. They're announcing Matthews.
Yeah, it's an unassisted goal, but that one low angle looks like it just redirects slightly. And whether it went off Matthew Nyes, I still think it would have been Nyes that it touched.
But having said that, Austin Matthews' shooting percentage is 21.4%. When he scored 60 goals a couple of years ago, his shooting percentage was 17.2. So he is on pace to get into the 70s. And we haven't had a 70-goal scorer in this league since 1992-93.
Scored by number 59, Tyler Bertuzzi.
Pass by the Sens goes astray, and an icing call coming here.
And number 88, William Nylander.
Willie Nylander extends his point streak. Most recent point streak, 12 games now for Willie Nylander. The only 3 times he did not figure it on the score sheet were consecutive games when they came back from Sweden.
Well, he was pretty tuckered out from all the attention he got over there, I would assume.
You will remember him hitting 2 posts and a crossbar in overtime in Chicago. That was the night it ended.
Well, you know what? The rinks are different, eh? And it was just making that adjustment back to the North American style of playing surface, possibly, Mr. Ralph.
Well, that's...
Well, I'm going with
that's your specialty.
Leafs with the puck in the center ice area. Matthews across the line, feathered it in for Nyes. Comes to the side of the goal. And attempting to cover it with his blocking glove was Korpisalo, but it bounced out in front. But fortunately for the Senators goalkeeper, the whistle had gone. 2-0 Toronto. Matthews and Bertuzzi, the goal scorers at this point. 12:47 to go, first period. You're listening to Molson Leaf Hockey on TSN 1050 and the Maple Leafs Radio Network.
What's up, Leafs fans? Another awesome night here on TSI. Thank you to each and every one of you for hanging out with us. Please don't forget to hit that like button, as it helps bring more Leafs fans into the chat. The more the better. A big shout out to our insiders and VIP members. Your support is truly appreciated. I cannot explain to you what it means for this community. Please consider joining our community. It's only 99 cents a month. I made it as low as possible so that we can get more and more people joining our community. Awesome member exclusive emojis in the chat during these Leafs games, and add your name to the scroll down below. Anyways, enough of the necessary evils to keep growing this amazing Toronto sports community and Maple Leafs community. Back to Leafs hockey. Go Leafs go. I'll see you guys in the chat. Peace.
The latest opinion and analysis you need on the home of hockey, NHL Network Radio, Sirius XM 91, and the Sirius XM app. The Power Play with Steve Koulias.
Not only is Sidney Crosby one of the greatest, probably top 5 NHL players of all time, and there's some non-hockey people in Pittsburgh that don't want to hear this, he's as good and as important as anyone who's ever played for the Pittsburgh Steelers. Whether you want to understand that or not, put that in your pipe and smoke it.
The Power Play, weekdays 3 p.m. Eastern on NHL Network Radio, Sirius XM 91, and the Sirius XM app.
Join me, Gord Stellick, and Scott Laughlin as we recap the night that was on NHL Morning Skate, weekday mornings at 7 a.m. Eastern on NHL Network Radio, Sirius XM 91.
Joe Bowen along with Jim Ralph here at Scotiabank Arena. Owen Hall is our producer. Matthew Cardadero running the operation back at the station. Paul Gass. Right here, working in our midst. He's always doing the radio, the production for the visiting team. This is the first time we've had the pleasure of having him work here.
Well, we had him in the bubble a few times here.
In the bubble. That doesn't count. There was no crowd. There was no pressure. It was just a bubble.
Okay. Keep talking. I want to hear the end of this.
I'm done.
Well, I knew that when you started. But it is good to have Paul slide over to the good guy's side.
Face Off brought to you by Alpine Credits. You own your own home and need a loan. Alpine Credits can help. Get approved at alpinecredits.ca. Draw to the right in the Ottawa zone after an icing. And Marner unable to handle that. It goes back of the net. Jacob Chychrun launches it out at center, and the puck is pushed back towards the Leaf blue line. Brought in over the line, though, by Stützle. He got it in front of the net, but it was intercepted, and now the Leafs have it again. Pass ahead through center. Fired into the Ottawa zone then by Jake McCabe, who heads to the bench for a change. And the puck is deflected into the crowd and out of play. This is a next generation game, and I don't know the logistics of why this game is not played in the afternoon, either before Christmas or even between. I mean, right now, this date, it's impossible because the teams have the 2 days off for Boxing Day and Christmas, and then the Senators flew in this morning and practiced, and then that would have been impossible to have an afternoon game. But, you know, for the littler tykes, and I include my grandkids in that, as a shot goes wide from Tavares into the corner, it would be nice to have an afternoon game that they could come.
The other part that hurt it was the Leafs playing the 2 road games right before Christmas, so you couldn't do it.
Yep. Batted out of the air to the line, kept in at the point by Artem Zub. Got it down into the Leaf zone. The pass comes up on the wing, and a long lead pass. There was Willie Nylander breaking up on the right side, and the pass just failed to connect. But a heads-up move there by Morgan Rielly. Boy, he is so good at that. Is there one better in the league that finds and times that lead pass as often and successful as Willie Nylander?
I'll tell you, though, to me, this is as good as Morgan Riley has played. I know we said that last year in the playoffs. I know he had a 20-goal season earlier in his career, but Morgan Riley kind of gets lost in the defensive woes that the Leafs have had as to how good he has really been.
Played back to the point, kept alive now for a chance for Bernard Docker. A shot kicked away by Jones. Launched to the blue line and out and a race for it. McMahon in over the line, hoping to get a pass in front of the net. And Gregor was roaring in there but couldn't handle it. Now Gregor sends it back into a crowd. Cut off there and sent around by Lagesson around the boards. Gregor in the near corner. Skates around back of the net. Back to the blue line to Lagesson. Lagesson holds, still trying to find an opening. And when he did, it was wide of the net. Benoit turns out of the corner. Simon Benoit with a shot towards the net. That was blocked. Leafs after it again, and it's pushed out into the center ice area, and the Leafs have it once more as both teams are getting a change in. 10:17 to play, first period. Matthews and Bertuzzi have scored the goals for the Maple Leafs, although we kind of think that Nyes may get credit for the Matthews tally. Back to the blue line, kept in by McCabe. McCabe dishes off on the far wing, trying to get it freed up. Leafs get it into the slot. McCabe with a shot. Good blocker saved by Korpisalo. Played out into the center ice area. Shot by Liljegren back into the Ottawa zone. Domi couldn't come up with it, but hustles after a loose puck back of the net. Domi tries to center, and he couldn't get the backhand to the goal line. That was saved. Another shot goes over top of the net. Travis Hamonic saves a goal. Pass in front of the net, looking there for Yarncrook, is broken up. Played back down into the Toronto zone.
Really could be but a 6-1 game right now, easily, couldn't it?
Well, at least 4. They've had 2 great chances. Matthews trying to find Marner, and it was out of his reach. Played out in the center ice area. Now here the Senators in with a shot off an angle. That caroms off the goalpost and went wide. Okay, there's the one. Brought back now by Tkachuk. Trip up there. There's going to be a penalty here to the Maple Leafs as Tkachuk was taken down.
It's going to be Mitch Marner. Oh, no, maybe not. Might be DJ Brody.
This will be the 120th opportunity on the power play. 29 more than what the Leafs have enjoyed. You're listening to Molson Leaf Hockey on TSN 1050 and the Maple Leafs Radio Network.
There are many peculiar words in the English language. Words like salivigant, peregrinate, nemophilus, peripatetic, and conviviality. Yet, there is no word for getting the most out of winter in your Subaru, thanks to symmetrical full-time all-wheel drive and X-Mode. Until now. We call it unhibernate. As in, while your neighbors stay home, you'll be unhibernating all winter in your Subaru. So peregrinate to your local Subaru dealer today, and welcome to Uncommon Winter Confidence.
Alpine News Network is here live with one of our superheroes.
Love is in the air. Frank and Marge's daughter is getting married. They want to help with the wedding, but need to organize their finances. With a debt consolidation loan and my telekinesis, I help them consolidate their bills. I promise I won't crash the wedding, but I am free that weekend.
Own your home? Need a loan? Alpine Credits can help.
Alpine Credits, where homeowners get approved. Just for license 12616.
Maple Toyota knows you love sports and trucks, which is why they have great vehicles in stock to carry your team, your game day gear, and to get you through winter. Like the Tundra, 4Runner, Highlander, and Grand Highlander. Plus, now through January 2nd, when you purchase any new in-stock short box Toyota Tundra, you'll score big with a free genuine Toyota Trifold Hard tonneau cover. Maple Toyota wishes the Canadian Juniors good luck in this year's tournament. Visit mapletoyota.com.
Part of the Zankin Auto Group.
Joe Bowen and Jim Ralph here as the Maple Leafs will be a man short for the first time in the hockey game. And the penalty kill is brought to you by CMC Markets. Penalty kill brought, take your trading to the next level with $0 commission on stocks.
Senators, by the way, 4 for 17 in their last 4 games. The Leafs penalty kill has been a bit of a struggle. Killed off just 13 of 18 in their last 6.
Justin Bieber in attendance. Pass over on the wing, and Will Arnett as well. Played back towards the blue line, just kept in there by the Senators. Norris along the near boards, gets it back to the blue line. Sanderson back to Norris. Near half wall, looking in front. Back it goes to Sanderson. Over on the far side, Stützle to Sanderson. A pass in front of the net from Norris didn't work. Sanderson again. They'll try the left wing side once more. In front of the goal is Tkachuk, but they now get it to him, and a shot right on. Good save made by Jones. Another pass goes wide of the Leaf goal, tipping it to the side of the net. Stolen back, cleared to the line, but Sanderson will get there. Sanderson to the near side, but the Leafs are there, and quickly played by Yarncrook down the ice. Sorry, that was Marner. Arm numbers are almost impossible to read on these next generation or third jerseys the Leafs have. Played into the center ice area, and Chychrun sending it back. Brought in over the line on the right wing side. Chipped into the corner. Good hit by Benoit to separate the puck from Giroux. Giroux comes back with it to get it back to the blue line, but it's intercepted, and the Leafs have it out in neutral ice. Here's Gregor in across the line. Pulls up, just plays it in deep, and he's going to peel to the bench with 28 seconds left in the power play. Senators are 23rd in the league in proficiency, 17.6%. It hasn't been for the lack of opportunities, though, as we mentioned. This is 120, and 2 games less than the Maple Leafs, who have 91.
Well, the Leafs have scored shorthanded goals in back-to-back games.
Good hit by Liljegren to stand up the rush. Down into the corner as the penalty is expired. Brody is back onto the ice. It comes back to the point. Shot was deflected wide. Another shot by Zub goes into the near corner. Senators trying to press the attack here. As it comes along the boards back to the point, Zub keeping it in to his defense partner on the left wing side. Back into the slot area. Kelly getting a shot away, and that was deflected wide, and the Leafs start out with it. Liljegren overskating it, just playing it off the boards to center now. Leafs are changing. Zub in on the right side. Sharp angle, decides not to shoot it. Takes a hit there. The puck goes back of the net for Brody. And Brody, trying to find an outlet, decides to dish it back. And now Morgan Rielly will start out with a pass ahead. Domi works his way in across the line. Looking on the left wing side for Robertson. Robertson cuts in front of the goal. And he couldn't get a backhand away because he was slashed. And that's going to bring about a power play for the Maple Leafs. Their first in the game.
Boy, Max Domi gets the line, pulls up, and then the perfect feed to Nick Robertson going to the net. And Robertson tried to get around the left pad of Jonas Korpisalo, but it was the hack that drew the penalty.
Power play brought to you by your Ontario Subaru dealers. Hurry to your local Subaru dealer and get more out of every kilometer this fall, including more karaoke.
Well, penalty kill of the Senators. They were 1 for 5 in their loss a couple of games ago against Colorado when they blew a 2-0 or a 2-goal lead against the Avalanche. 14 for 22 overall in their last 5.
Leafs are 24 of 91, 4th in the league in proficiency at 26.4. Kept in at the far side, but Matthews had it bounce over a stick. And now an opportunity here for Ottawa to get in over the line. Nice play by Giroux, but it was poked away there nicely by Jones. Leafs back in their own zone. Brought on by Nylander. He hits the line, fell, able to punch it in then for Tavares. His backhand pass didn't reach Marner on the far side, who was filled in. And Rielly does it likewise to the filler in, and Gregg is down on all fours trying to hold the puck up against the boards. That's drawn an enormous crowd over in the far corner. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Puck finally comes free to Nylander, and the shot grazes the goalpost and it went wide. And it's going to carry him out to the line and out. That would have been offside. Leafs tag up and will go into a forecheck now, and it is shot down the ice by Ottawa. Changes up front and on the power play for the Maple Leafs. Liljegren drops it back for Domi. Domi to the line. Over on the right wing it goes. Leafs trying to organize as it come back to Liljegren at the blue line. Now to Robertson, closing in a shot, and he whistled it high and wide, and it caroms all the way to center ice. 4:40 to go in the period. Now a half minute left in the power play. Domi hits the line. Caught it off on the wing, but it was knocked away and shot down the ice by Ottawa. And the Leafs will take their time going back. Penalty has just 14 seconds left in it. One final rush. Morgan Rielly leads it. Domi with the pass, dropping for Bertuzzi. Bertuzzi down into the corner. Chips it back at the net. Penalty door about to open, and now does, but the Leafs keep the puck in. Over on the far side, down into the corner for Domi. Domi holds back to Morgan Rielly. Rielly walks to the near side. Now lets it go, and a good glove save made by Korpisalo to stop play and bring a face-off in the Ottawa zone with 3:54 to go in the first period. The Leafs 2, the Ottawa Senators no score. You're listening to Molson Leaf Hockey on TSN 1050 and the Maple Leafs Radio Network.
Every fantasy football player has a date with destiny, and your time is now. It's Championship Week on SiriusXM Fantasy Sports Radio. Listen and dominate your competition with expert analysis from a fantasy perspective.
Don't just think of it through the lens of your own team. Think about who are the teams I'm going to be playing. Can I prevent their rosters from getting better?
Go home a champion or just go home. The Fantasy Football Playoffs.
This time of the year, I want upside.
Fantasy Sports Radio, Channel 87, and on the SiriusXM app.
Under review.
And if someone says, well, he's good in the room, you know what? They don't have a good in the room stat in the standings. I've yet to find that category. It's one of the most overplayed things. They better be good in the room. That's the least you better bring when you join a National Hockey League team.
Under review with Mick Kerr, 11 a.m. Eastern on NHL Network Radio, SiriusXM 91, and the SiriusXM app.
Hey Toronto, I'm David Morsuti, host of the daily Toronto Maple Leafs podcast, Locked On Leafs, part of the Locked On Podcast Network on the SiriusXM app. Every weekday, we bring you the latest Leafs news and analysis, break down all the action, including this game you're listening to right now, and preview the next one. We're giving you everything a Leafs fan could want, all in a daily 30-minute podcast. Download Locked On Leafs right now on the SiriusXM app, available with all trials and popular plans, or where you get your podcasts. Search Locked On Leafs.
Join me, Gord Stellick, and Scott Laughlin as we recap the night that was on NHL Morning Skate, weekday mornings at 7 a.m. Eastern on NHL Network Radio, SiriusXM 91.
Matthews and Bertuzzi have the goals. Rielly and Nylander assisting on the Bertuzzi marker. Nylander extending his point streak to 12 games now. 4 goals, 15 assists, 19 points. And Matthews is just on a torrid goal-scoring streak.
Matthews already 10 multi-goal games on the season. Of course, started with back-to-back hat-tricks in the first 2 games.
And 15 goals now in his last 10 games. Look out, that was shot in, just missing the Ottawa bench. Cleared around the boards by Chychrun. And pushed ahead by Tarasenko to center, but stolen again by the Maple Leafs at their own blue line. Brought forward now by Toronto. Fired to the line by McKay. Brought in then by McMahon, but they're calling this offside.
Yeah, Noah Gregor was 20 feet inside the line on the other side. I do like the way the Leafs have come out, though. They've been sharp, throwing a lot to the net, although the shots just 9-5 in favor of the Leafs right now. The Ottawa Senators, dead last in the East and 29th overall in the NHL. The Red Wings have struggled of late.
And what's disappointing, of course, is all of the preseason hype. Here's a loose puck down in the Toronto zone, and a good save made off Norris by goaltender Jones. Centering pass intercepted by the Maple Leafs. I would not say that Martin Jones has made a spectacular save, but he has made all of the saves that he's had to make. Here's drop pass for Morgan Rielly, and a shot goes off a skate and up into the screen and out of play. And that's what he did the other night.
Yeah,
we said it was a workmanlike performance.
Yeah, and again, it goes down to what Sheldon Keefe had said about the team in front of Ilya Samsonov. We have to give them a game. Now, in fairness, they have. You remember the shutout against Nashville. Wasn't really a difficult game for Samsonov and a 5-0 win there. But they're talking about the more sound you play in front of your goaltender, the less you really rely on them. I know that's being Captain Obvious in that category.
But you still need to have him make the regular save, right?
Yeah, and right now, the big save was the one off the crossbar.
Yeah. Played down into the Ottawa zone. 2.5 minutes to play in the period. 2-0 Toronto. Pushed out at center ice and down into the Leafs zone, but no icing. Jones playing it around back of the net. The Leafs play it back into the near corner. And now turning with it is Nylander. Nylander through center to the red line. Drops the puck back. Organizing back in his own zone. Lagesson to his defense partner. Benoit plays it off a stick in on goal. Korpisalo will play it into the corner, and the Sens will regroup it for Zub, who tries to send it around to the far side for Jacob Chychrun. That runs into a bit of a traffic jam, but now Zub is able to carry it to center and shoot it in. Jones out of the goal. Boy, that's just a heads-up play. He saw the Ottawa player was firmly up against the boards, kind of gave it a little, okay, I'll wait. Now I'll just make a nice little pass up to the half wall. And out the Leafs come. They play it around back of the Ottawa goal. Down into the corner it goes. Off a stick and punched out and down the ice by Ottawa. And there'll be an icing coming here with 1:17 to go in the first period. 2-0 Toronto.
Joseph Wall played the last two, or had the starts in the last two games against the Senators. Remember, he did something similar when Ottawa was here, when the Senators won. Wall got behind the net, did that same thing, waited, lost it, and couldn't get back in time for the Senators put it into the empty cage.
But then he made up for it in Ottawa, didn't he? Had a tremendous game.
Of course, the game he was injured in has not played since.
Icing call here against Toronto.
We talk about the reliance on Austin Matthews in the offense. You do have some guys that you'd like to see it a little more from. Matthew Knies has 7 goals on the year, 3 of them against Tampa, 2 of them against Pittsburgh. So they haven't exactly been hot streaks for certain forwards. Max Domi is all 3 of his goals in the last 10 games the Leafs have played.
Leafs trying to control the faceoff, but don't. Senators play it around back to the blue line. Chipped towards the front of the net, but it went wide. Charging in on the right side was Travis Hamonic. He rolled it in front of the net, and then it was chipped wide of the goal by Stützle. Leafs get it out and down the ice, but it's not going to have enough to go for icing. Stützle back in his own zone, gave the puck away to Matthews in front of the goal. Oh, what a chance! That was Knies in front of the net, and what a chance he had. Played through center ice now by Ottawa and down into the Leaf end. Stützle was just literally robbed by Matthews, and Knies was all by himself in front of the net, but Korpisalo got a piece of it. 10 seconds left in the period. Pass goes down into Ottawa territory, but it's going to be icing with 5.9 seconds to go in the period.
What's amazing, too, Tim Stützle had career-high 39 goals last year, has 7 goals this year, has not scored on the power play or shorthanded, which is incredible. I think you look at John Tavares' numbers and only 2 power play goals, you find a little amazing.
You know, Knies had time to literally cradle that puck, step, change the angle. He didn't realize he was so far removed from any Ottawa defender.
Well, I think under those circumstances, though, wouldn't you suggest just get it away as soon as you can before Korpisalo can...
No, but I work on second guessing so much, Mr. Ralph, and being able to see replay and review and stuff like that. So I know I'm right. As a shot bounces wide of the Leaf goal, his time will run out.
But he was stationary, too.
What?
So you would have had them take 2 or 3 quick bursting strides to make that move?
He's a professional athlete, Mr. Ralph. He's a professional hockey player.
Well, I can name three guys that can do it.
All right, one real good move.
I wish he would have. We both wish he would have scored. Let's leave it at that.
Let's leave it at that.
And we'll see if, in fact, you know what? They have now officially changed the first goal, and it is Matthew Nye's 8th from Austin Matthews. Matthews' 14th assist of the year. So let's see what we did in talking about Matthew Nye's. We delayed long enough to do Jim Teddy's work for him. The correction.
When does he ever does us a favor like that?
Oh, really, Guy?
Yeah, yeah. All right, well, Guy is here, and we'll be along with our first period intermission, a 2-0 Toronto lead. You're listening to Molson Leaf Hockey on TSN 1050 and the Maple Leafs Radio Network.
Hey, what's up, y'all? It's Kelly Clarkson, and I am so excited to bring you the Kelly Clarkson Connection.
Connecting the music she loves.
Everything from Rosemary Clooney to Aerosmith.
The music she's inspired by.
The Queen, y'all, Aretha Franklin, possibly my biggest influence vocally.
And her own award-winning catalog.
What doesn't kill you makes you stronger. That's what you're going to get here, so you're welcome in advance. My SiriusXM channel.
The Kelly Clarkson Connection.
Channel 12, and on the SiriusXM app. Free with all trials and popular plans.
The best player analysts and insiders live on NHL Network Radio. Mike Johnson.
5-on-5 defensive game for Tampa is getting to the point, Gord, where it is a concern. And it's not just because Vasilevsky hasn't played the entire season. They're giving up almost 4 goals a game. No matter how good your offense is, that's not going to be able to be sustainable.
Get the latest opinion and analysis you need on the home of hockey, NHL Network Radio, SiriusXM 91, and the SiriusXM app. The Power Play with Steve Koulias.
Not only is Sidney Crosby one of the greatest, probably top 5 NHL players of all time, and there's some non-hockey people in Pittsburgh that don't want to hear this, he's as good and as important as anyone who's ever played for the Pittsburgh Steelers. Whether you want to understand that or not, put that in your pipe and smoke it.
The Power Play, weekdays 3 p.m. Eastern on NHL Network Radio, SiriusXM 91, and the SiriusXM app. 24/7 hockey talk.
One of the greatest goaltenders of all time. Patrick Waugh, when you put your hands up, did you know at that moment that you were done?
No, I did not. Unfortunately, it happened. Just gave me a chance to have a fresh start somewhere else and be traded to Colorado was a good opportunity. Sometimes you need that little, change, and it was welcome for me.
SiriusXM, NHL Network Radio, SiriusXM 91, and on your schedule with the SiriusXM app. The Point with Boomer Gordon.
18 months ago, I had New Flyers head coach John Tortorella. And I asked him what he was worried about the club, and he said, I don't like the room. We have a bad room. And I'm like, you haven't even coached this team yet. A year and a half later, John Tortorella loves his room. He loves this team, and he loves that they compete every night.
Point with Boomer Gordon. 1 p.m. Eastern on NHL Network Radio, SiriusXM 91, and the SiriusXM app.
Hey Toronto, I'm David Morsuti, host of the daily Toronto Maple Leafs podcast, Locked On Leafs, part of the Locked On Podcast Network on the SiriusXM app. Every weekday, we bring you the latest Leafs news and analysis, break down all the action, including this game you're listening to right now, and preview the next one. We're giving you everything a Leafs fan could want, all in a daily 30-minute podcast. Download Locked On Leafs right now on the SiriusXM app, available with all trials and popular plans, or where you get your podcasts. Search Locked On Leafs.
Under review.
And if someone says, well, he's good in the room, you know what? They don't have a good in the room stat in the standings. I've yet to find that category. It's one of the most overplayed things. They better be good in the room. That's the least you better bring when you join a National Hockey League team.
Under review with Mick Kerr, 11 a.m. Eastern on NHL Network Radio, SiriusXM 91, and the SiriusXM app. The biggest names in the game.
Trying to get behind, wrist the line, and walks in, put it between his legs, shoots it, score!
NHL play-by-play on SiriusXM.
Canadian Leafs hockey is on TSN 1050 and the Leafs Radio Network. The Leafs live here.
So we'll wait for the official announcement. The Leafs have the puck again in the offensive zone. At the blue line, here's Riley. Centering pass, they score! Bertuzzi in front of the net. And the Leafs have jumped out in front 2-0. Yes, 23 seconds apart. 2-0 for the Leafs over Ottawa after 20 minutes of play. TSN After 20 brought to you by your Ontario Subaru dealers. Hurry to your local Subaru dealer. Get more out of every kilometer this fall, including more karaoke. Oh, no, guy. Jim Taddy and Josh Cloak from The Athletic. 2-0, could be 5-0.
Well, part of me wonders if the Leafs were blasting the tap man and Cloak in the intermission, or before the game, I should say, because one of our yes guy, no guy questions was, who's going to score more goals, Matt Nyes or Tyler Bertuzzi?
Yeah.
Both of them get on the scoreboard in a real energetic first period from the Leafs, I thought.
Absolutely. Nyes gets his 8th. Bertuzzi, 23 seconds later, number 6. And that was after 4 or 5 missed golden opportunities.
Yeah, like it easily could be 3 or 4-0 for the Leafs right now. And again, even though he wasn't credited for the goal, as we talked about before the game, Austin Matthews fires that shot in. It just kind of bounces off Nyes and goes in. But he was flying throughout the first period. And again, as we mentioned, as Austin Matthews goes, so goes the Leafs. You could just feel momentum building, shift by shift. I thought the third line, which we talked about before the game, had a really good start to the game. They were attacking the net really, really well. But it just feels like the Leafs have a lot of momentum in this first period that the Senators don't right now.
Sometimes the eye test is the best way to judge a team, and they had all kinds of energy. They started fast, kept going, and I don't know how you analyze that other than they had energy.
Oh, when your best players are playing like your best players, which they were, good things are going to happen. And we have to give credit. I know we spent a lot of time before the game talking about the goaltending. I thought Martin Jones made a few solid saves when he needed to. Busted out the poke check. Yeah. Like when you saw that poke check, did you have visions of Johnny Bower dancing through your head?
Well, I just deal with originals, and Johnny Bower was original. So, yeah, absolutely. When I see something now, I go, no, wait a minute. This happened 50 years ago.
Yeah, so it's kind of like when you see me, you think, is that Brad Pitt, or is it?
No, I never go there.
Oh, you never go there. Okay, all right. Well, why? Moving on, guy.
Why would I
just wondered if you think originals.
Actually, I think of Die Hard when I see you.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Is Die Hard a Christmas movie?
Yes, it is.
Okay,
you are the villain.
Ouch.
Yeah.
Yeah. He gets it in the end, too.
Yeah, sorry,
That's a bit of foreboding there, guys.
Takes a bit of a drop. Spoiler alert. All right, 2-0. And again, these games at this time of the year are just games. I don't think they're reference points at all, but good start for the Leafs, and you wonder where it can go.
Yeah, well, I think it can only go up from here. I think if this is the kind of game where if the Leafs can maybe get one more, build a bit of a cushion. This is the kind of game where you want to give the third and fourth lines a little bit more ice time. I know we talked about giving Austin Matthews a lot of rope, but these are the kind of games where you want to roll out some of your bottom six just to see if they can lock it down a little bit. The Leafs are going to have a back-to-back coming up, so they're going to want to just keep an eye on their ice time for some of their big guys. But look, we're getting to that point in the season, too, where players or management are going to be thinking about roster construction and making trades. So games like this that are wide open right now, it's a great chance for some of those bottom six guys to really prove themselves. And I thought the fourth line, Bobby McMahon in particular, had a few great shifts, brought a lot of energy, and that's kind of what I'm looking for in the second period here.
Well, how about maybe let's go with what we have in front of us, Nyes and Bertuzzi.
Yep.
If they could get regular production out of these two guys, that's a major boost.
Well, with one of them in particular, Bertuzzi, that's what you're paying for. Right, you are paying for production, and I thought he's looked a lot more comfortable lately as a Leaf. He didn't really look like he was feeling himself in those first few games when he came to Toronto.
Yeah.
He's looked a lot more comfortable. Matt Nyes, at this point, as a true rookie, anything you're getting is just kind of a bonus, right? He's holding his head above water as a first-line guy. It's pretty hard to play with Matthews and Marner. We've seen that a lot. But, no, I think a lot more production would certainly help because, if you're Tyler Bertuzzi, you're a proven player, right? But you're also proven in that you've scored a lot of goals in the past, and I think the Leafs are just expecting a little bit more production out of him, so that's something to keep an eye on moving forward.
Well, so maybe it's a little intimidating to try and play in this team because of the skill level that, if you're Tyler Bertuzzi, you had all those years in Detroit, which was not a good place.
Not a good team when he was there.
Well, again, it was interesting. It's interesting to see Bertuzzi because he started the year up on the top line. It didn't really fit there.
Yeah.
It's almost as if you're looking for this magical formula to find a left winger that can play with Matthews and Marner.
Well, it's been difficult.
It's been, Nick Ritchie, Michael Bunting did it for a while. He had his ups and downs there. I think, Matt Nyes in particular, we're talking about him. I think what he does so well is something that we were talking about Ilya Samsonov pregame. This is a guy that doesn't overthink his game. You talk to him, you're around him. This is a player that is just on top of the world right now because he doesn't have the weight of the world on his shoulders. He's a young guy who's just playing his game, and I think that's something that's really working on his, in his favor right now.
Josh, thanks very much. 2-0 for the Leafs over Ottawa after 20 minutes of play. This is Molson Canadian Leafs Hockey on TSN 1050, the iHeart Radio app. Whoa, almost lost that one, in the Leafs Radio Network.
NHL All-Star Thursday is coming to Toronto with 3 exciting events in one star-filled night. First, celebrity captains select their teams in the Tim Hortons NHL All-Star Player Draft. Then, the 1967 Stanley Cup champion Maple Leafs are honored in the NHL Alumni Man of the Year. And finally, the best in women's hockey compete in the Canadian Tire PWHL 3-on-3 Showcase. It's NHL All-Star Thursday on February 1st. Buy tickets now starting at $44 at NHL.com/Thursday.
Alpine News Network is here live with one of our superheroes.
It's a bird. It's a plane. Oh, it's just me helping the city with my super strength. And help is what we did for Dave and Keith. They wanted a new living room, and we're approved for a home renovation loan. I'm invited to their next potluck, and I'm bringing my famous hero dip. I basically just melt a jar of cheese with my super heat vision.
Own your home? Need a loan? Alpine Credits can help.
Alpine Credits, where homeowners get approved. Just for license 12616.
Unhibernate. Verb. To laugh in the face of snow because you drive a Subaru. As in, when I unhibernate, I have the roads all to myself because my Subaru has symmetrical full-time all-wheel drive and others don't. Or, the award-winning safety in my Subaru means I can unhibernate all winter while my neighbors stare longingly from their bedroom windows. Or my favorite usage. I am going to unhibernate this winter by visiting my local Subaru dealer today. Welcome to Uncommon Winter Confidence.
From the biggest stadiums to the coziest holes in the wall. From house parties to porch hangs to pride celebrations. From your favorite fuzz shop to your local Indian spot. From noodle bars to sports bars to salsa bars. There's a Molson with your name on it. Canadian Ultra XL. Molson. Everyone in. Must be legal drinking age.
Want to be certain your reno goes right? Start with Pro Materials with CertainTeed Drywall. In fire resistant, water resistant, super durable, or soundproof and top quality insulation. Ceiling systems, premium shingles, and siding. Do it right with professional grade building materials from CertainTeed. Pro all the way.
Whatever the weather, CMC Markets is here to help. Planning for a rainy day? Enjoy $0 commission on U.S. and Canadian share CFDs. Riding out the storm? Get ahead of the curve with lightning fast execution speeds. Blue skies ahead? Go with the trusted broker backed by over 30 years experience. Switch to CMC Markets and join over 275,000 global traders. Learn more at cmcmarkets.ca. FX spreads apply. CFDs involve a high degree of risk. Member Canadian Investor Protection Fund. Umbrella not included.
The Out-of-Town Scoreboard is brought to you by Maple Toyota. Build your next dream Toyota at Maple Toyota and check out Maple Toyota's pre-owned inventory arriving daily. Guy, it's time to Toyota. Visit mapletoyota.com. Here's what we have. Second period, Capitals and Rangers are scoreless. In the first period, Bruins 2-0 over the Buffalo Sabres. Also in the first, Penguins and Islanders are scoreless. End of the first, Devils and Jackets are tied at 1. End of the first, Panthers 1-0 over the Lightning. And getting set to start, Detroit and Minnesota, Carolina in Nashville against the Predators, Stars in St. Louis, Avs visiting the Coyotes, Jets visiting Chicago, Seattle visiting Calgary, Golden Knights against the Ducks, and the Sharks in LA against the Kings. Oh, Guy, it's a busy night in the NHL. The second period is next. This is Molson Canadian Leafs Hockey on TSN 1050, the iHeart Radio app, and the Leafs Radio Network.
As we say goodbye to 2023, Toast your favorite NFL team for all the excitement and cheer they bring you throughout the year.
Happy New Year!
This is Steve Torrey. Join Bill Leckus and me for a New Year's Eve edition of the Sunday Drive at noon Eastern for live listen-ins, guests, and playoff scenarios around the NFL.
Pumps once, throws, end zone, caught! Game over!
We close out 2023 with a bang, so join us on the Sunday Drive at noon Eastern on NFL Radio, Channel 88, and the Sirius XM app.
The best player analysts and insiders live on NHL Network Radio. Mike Johnson.
5-on-5 defensive game for Tampa is getting to the point, Gord, where it is a concern. And it's not just because Vasilevsky hasn't played the entire season. They're giving up almost 4 goals a game. No matter how good your offense is, that's not going to be able to be sustainable.
Get the latest opinion and analysis you need on the home of hockey, NHL Network Radio, Sirius XM 91, and the Sirius XM app. The Power Play with Steve Koulias.
Not only is Sidney Crosby one of the greatest, probably top 5 NHL players of all time, and there's some non-hockey people in Pittsburgh that don't want to hear this, he's as good and as important as anyone who's ever played for the Pittsburgh Steelers. Whether you want to understand that or not, put that in your pipe and smoke it.
The Power Play, weekdays 3 p.m. Eastern on NHL Network Radio, Sirius XM 91, and the Sirius XM app.
If you're a soccer fan, you know that this music means one thing. The Champions League is on Sirius XM FC.
Hat-trick for Erling Haaland! Kane scores!
The top teams from around Europe are battling for club soccer's holy grail.
Real Madrid do what they do best! What a start for Inter!
Hear all the top Champions League matches all tournament long on Sirius XM FC 157 and streaming on the Sirius XM app.
The biggest names in the game.
Trying to get behind Ristolainen, walks in, put it between his legs, shoots it, score!
NHL play-by-play on Sirius XM.
Maple Leafs scored 2 goals in 23 seconds in the first period. Initially credited to Austin Matthews, but the tippy toe of Matthew Nyes was the reason the puck entered the net. And his 8th of the season from Matthews opened the scoring. And 23 seconds later, it was Bertuzzi's 6th from Riley and Nylander as Nylander extended a point streak to 11 games. And the Maple Leafs with a 2-0 lead. 12-6, they outshoot Ottawa in the first period. And will take that lead into the second stanza, brought to you by Molson. Whether it's Canadian Ultra, Export, or XL, there's a Molson with your name on it.
How many people in the building know that the goal has been changed to Matthew Nyes at this point? But it's what you like about Austin Matthews this year is where he is shot from everywhere. Even go back to the goal he scored in Buffalo, which was basically bottom of the right wing circle, just above the goal line. Just got it, threw it to the net from a sharp angle, and it eluded Devin Levi. Matthew Nyes could have had a couple. He had another great opportunity late in the opening period and a setup from Austin Matthews.
So the Leafs will carry the 2-0 lead into the second period.
Like we mentioned, even Tyler Bertuzzi, his first goal in 12 games. Should have had one a little earlier, too.
No, you're right.
But Artem Zug just got a stick on a shot by Tyler Bertuzzi before it went into the empty net.
So we are underway with the second period. Roll down into Ottawa territory. Jake Sanderson got it up on the wing and it's bunted out at center ice. Morgan Riley and Brody exchanging the puck. Now Riley has to go back for it. Tipped to the line, but brought back by Ottawa and shot into the Toronto zone by Norris. Puck along the boards and now back out in a race for it now with Marner going into the corner with Sanderson. Spun off Sanderson but couldn't come up with the puck. Lead pass at center for Ottawa. Tarasenko in on the left wing. Cuts to the middle of the ice on his backhand. Being forced wide, then got a weak shot away and an easy save for Martin Jones. Leafs come away with the loose puck. Tavares starting away at center. Works it over the line into the slot with a backhand and then brought it to the forehand and looked like he was going to get a pretty dangerous shot away, but it was deflected away quickly. Chychrun gets in with a pass that was deflected back of the Leaf goal. Left there now for Batherson, coming out in front, stolen back by the Maple Leafs. McCabe trying to one-hand it there for Liljegren. That didn't work. Tavares chops at it. Puck now stolen by McCabe, pushed ahead for Bertuzzi. Bertuzzi patiently waits and then plays it out off the stick of Tavares to center ice. Ottawa bring it right back. Leafs in the middle of a change. McCabe back of the net into the far corner. Bertuzzi jams after his man. The puck in the slot area, broken up by the Leafs and fed ahead. And Max Domi couldn't settle it down. Delayed offside at the Leaf blue line. Liljegren gets it out. Robertson in on the right wing, pulls up. Yarncrook goes to the front of the net. Puck goes into the corner. Yarncrook onto it. Domi trying to add support, got knocked down from behind, and it is launched high to center ice now by Ottawa. Back of the net, Lagesson getting it up on the right side. Robertson or Yarncrook, who shoots it in. Leafs will change. And the Sens have it back in their own zone with Sanderson getting it up on the right wing. Brought on now by Smeckel into the corner. Lagesson punched it back of his own goal. Senators draw a crowd in there and now come out with the puck and get it back to the point. Sanderson to his defense partner, a long shot. Jones found that somehow through a maze and got leather on it. Camp couldn't come up with it. The Leafs punch it out, and now here's a quick break on the left wing side. Gregor working in on the wing. And the speed of Noah Gregor put on display. I put him up against just about anybody in this league for quickness.
What he does here, picks the puck up just inside the Leaf blue line. And instead of trying to beat three guys, he banks it off the left wing boards into some open ice and just outraces everyone to the puck and gets a chance. A pretty sharp angle that he tried to score on, but we have seen him score a number of goals at that end from that left wing circle this season.
Draw to the right of Jonas Korpisalo. Leafs win the draw. It comes back to the point. Riley with a shot in traffic went just wide. Marner back of the goal. Marner holds and works back towards the blue line. Snapped it back into the corner, but it was knocked down by Ottawa. And the Sens will get it into the center ice area. Brought in on the left wing, and a shot from a sharp angle, handled easily there by Jones off Josh Norris's stick. Back to the point it comes. One-timer coming. Big save. Another shot goes over top of the Leaf goal. Kept in at the blue line. Slapped along the boards there by Claude Giroux. Into the far corner for Tkachuk. He had it knocked away, then had his stick broken. Broke. That was very poor English. My grade 6 teacher, Mrs. Zinn, would have been very displeased with me. Brought back in over the line. Drop pass now for Marner. Rink wide, and a shot. It was wide of the net off the stick of the Leafs winger on the far side, the defenseman on the far side, and Jake McCabe. Liljegren back in the end zone. A shot from a sharp angle. Stopped the rebound in front. Stützle shot. Rolled in behind Jones, but the Leafs were able to take it away out of the blue paint. McCabe sidesteps Stützle and gets it ahead for Nylander. Nylander to the line and in. Tried to bring the puck with him, but couldn't get it around Bernard Docker. And the Sens will get it down into the Leaf end. Here's Stützle working around back of the net. Stützle into the corner. 32 points on the season. And the puck intercepted by the Leafs, and a lead pass for Tavares didn't work. Stützle will backpedal into his own zone to wait for changes to come for Ottawa. Up on the wing for Cruikshank. To Stützle, who was knocked down by Bertuzzi. Cruikshank carries on, tries to get around the defense. Played it into the corner. Centering pass was knocked down by goaltender Jones and allows Domi some skating room. Nifty move in on the left wing, and a shot was over top of the goal, and it caroms all the way to center ice. Lagesson on the far side got it to the Ottawa blue line, but no further. And then tripped up on the play was Domi, whose stick was broken. And the fans are hollering for a penalty as Domi goes to the Leafs bench. Shot down into the Ottawa zone. Sanderson back of the net. Starting out with it. Couldn't get it much further. And now shot down into the Toronto end, and it will be Benoit going back to retrieve it. Simon Benoit. But when I'm in Quebec, it's Simon. So whatever you choose, Benoit is the last name.
Now, is that from him? Is that what he said?
Yep. Chopped out at center ice. Sens will shoot it in. Jones out to swallow it up. Plays it back around the boards. McMahon was able to free it up, and it's cleared out at center ice, and Gregor will bank it off the near boards looking for David Camp, but Camp unable to get full control, but the Leafs keep it in. Back to the blue line, it's sent by McMahon, but it's going to hit between both Riley and Brody and back out at center ice. Now a pass up the middle almost sprang Marner, who was in between the defense. Nyes, who was credited with the opening goal, has to go off his stick and into the Toronto bench. And the first stoppage, really, it comes almost 7 minutes here into second period play. 13:37 to go. It is 2-0 Toronto. Nyes and Bertuzzi, the goal scorers. You're listening to Molson Leaf Hockey on TSN 1050 and the Maple Leafs Radio Network.
You've heard that sound before. A basketball going off the backboard and in. A bank shot. Well, that's actually the sound of a fan winning a Raptors jersey. That's the sound of a fan getting a signed Raptors basketball. And that's a fan scoring tickets to the NBA Finals. With the Tangerine Bank Shot contest, every bank shot the Raptors score this season wins a fan a prize. Enter for a chance to win at tangerine.ca/bankshot. Tangerine, that's forward banking.
Want to be certain your reno goes right? Start with Pro Materials with CertainTeed Drywall. In fire resistant, water resistant, super durable, or soundproof and top quality insulation. Ceiling systems, premium shingles, and siding. Do it right with professional grade building materials from CertainTeed. Pro all the way.
When running a business, you face plenty of challenges. Skip the challenge of finding and negotiating with lawyers and accountants. Go to Vexit.com instead. Vexit is Canada's online legal and accounting marketplace with over 100 services, covering everything you need to run a business, including tax filings. Vexit will match you with accredited small business professionals in as little as 3 minutes. The best part? No nonsense, fixed prices, stated up front. Go to Vexit.com and see for yourself. That's VEXXIT.com.
The Leafs 2 and the Ottawa Senators no score.
Matthew Nyes, he must have known that he got a piece of the Matthews shot that went in. No celebration. Didn't go to the bench first. I think that was out of respect, and probably for Matthew Nyes, he's thinking, I'm good. If this is Austin Matthews' marker.
Yeah. Chances of me scoring 70 this year are probably not real good. But I wouldn't worry about Matthews' goal production. As it's cleared out at center ice, Leafs trying to get onside. Marner brings it across on the right wing side, pulls up at the half wall, drops it off now for Matthews. He makes a move and goes around back of the net, centered in front of the net. It comes back to the blue line. Trapped there by Brody to Riley, and a shot blocked. Another shot then taken by Matthews, and that was kicked aside by Korpisalo.
Boy, huge rebound though off Matthews' shot from the right wing boards.
Came all the way down into the Toronto end, didn't it? Leafs back of their own goal. Morgan Riley, the assistant captain, coming ahead. Had to go off his stick. It comes back to Brody. He'll circle back. Want to make sure that he didn't hit Nylander in the skates if he was going to pass it to his defense partner. Now he does, and it's backhanded down into Ottawa territory. Bertuzzi hustling in there after it, but couldn't come up with it. On the boards, the Leafs pinch and are able to come away with it. Bertuzzi, back of the net for Nylander. Nylander flipping it in front. Bertuzzi, a backhand! And a good save made by Korpisalo. And then he's able to get a glove on top of the rebound.
Well, I find this a little surprising that the Senators have had some shots here in the third period, or second period, but out shooting the Leafs 7-3 here in the second. I feel like there's been a barrage of shots on Martin Jones.
Draw one by Toronto. A shot deflects right on. Another shot goes high as Bertuzzi launched it up over the crossbar and up into the screen. 12-10 to play second period. Still 2-0 Toronto, and the shots 17-13 favoring the Maple Leafs.
With a win in Columbus right before the Christmas break, the Leafs were able to avoid losing 3 straight for the first time this season. You like the response in Columbus, and you like their game so far tonight, don't you?
Yep. Bernard Docker got it ahead. A lead pass went off the stick of Liljegren down into the zone. It's carried around back of the net as Kubalik couldn't get to it. Now along the boards, knocked down on the play. McCabe taking his man down and now comes away with the loose puck into the far corner. McCabe back to Liljegren. Timothy Liljegren. A long lead pass. Fran out at center for Bertuzzi. Chipped in for a shot off a bad angle, but taken anyway by John Tavares. And swallowed up by Korpisalo. And another face-off coming in the Ottawa zone. The Leafs' next action in Columbus again. This time Friday night. We'll have that action for you beginning at 7 o'clock.
Kind of a quirk in the schedule.
It is, isn't it? Yeah.
3 times they face them in, less than 2 weeks?
Yep. And then done with them.
The Leafs haven't played Montreal since the opening game this season.
Boy, you talk about Buffalo and this team, Ottawa, at the beginning of the year, everyone said, much better, going to be maybe right there looking at a playoff spot, and how disappointing, and everything has been. DJ Smith ends up paying for it, and it is a tough situation in Ottawa. New ownership, new general manager, new coach. Backhand down into the Toronto zone it goes. Chipped along the boards. Lagesson chases as it comes back to the point. Sanderson's shot was deflected to the far side and backhanded out and down the ice then by Yarncrook. And wow, that was a generous wave off by the linesmen, who are Ryan Jackson and David Brisebois, fellow Sudbury. TJ Luxmore and Carter Sandlak are the referees. Camp gets it in over the line. Noah Gregor comes in front of the goal and it rolled off his stick. Kept in at the point. Brody into the corner looking for a pass there from McMahon. Got it freed up. Oh, good elbow taken right on the chops by, is that Gregor?
Yeah, I think Gregor caught it. The official at center is the one with his arm up. And I believe he was the one that was able to catch this. I'll tell you one thing, and you try not to get too far ahead of yourself.
Number 9, minor penalty, high sticking.
Well, I guess it's a high stick is going to be the official call.
Looked like a good elbow to me personally.
Yeah, they watching it. Yeah, he got him the second time. You're right, though. The elbow and everything comes up at the same time. On the glass right below us, Josh Chinor is gone for 2 minutes. But not trying to get too far ahead. But the thought of Noah Gregor in the playoffs, something I can't wait to see. Have a Nick Paul type game in a Game 7.
Shot down the ice by Ottawa. Power play brought to you by your Ontario Subaru dealers. Hurry to your local Subaru dealer and get more out of every kilometer this fall, including more karaoke. Here are the Leafs in over the line with Matthews getting it in for Tavares. Tavares tried to return the favor, but it was cut off there by Parker Kelly. Played around back of the Ottawa goal. Leafs are onto it again, trying to take it away. There, Matthews does manage to get it back towards the blue line, but it's cut off, and now a 2-on-1 break here for Ottawa. Pass into the slot, a shot. Scores! Do they not turn the red light on anymore in this building? A shorthanded goal from Parker Kelly. And the Ottawa Senators cut into the lead 2-1.
For Parker Kelly, that is his second goal of the season, his first since opening night for the Senators in Carolina. And by the way, that I believe is just the second shorthanded goal for the Senators this year.
5th against the Maple Leafs.
And this was Kelly off the post, glove side on Martin Jones, off the middle bar and out.
And the red light has still not gone on. Now Yarncrook works to center. Got in across the line. Played around the boards to the far side to Bertuzzi. First unit was on for the shorthanded goal, and they are off now. Played back of the net. Domi tried to center, intercepted, and shot down the ice by Ottawa. Liljegren starts out with it. Works through center, then banks it off the near boards for Yarncrook to Domi. Back to Yarncrook. He has it taken away. Another opportunity on a shorthanded rush by Ottawa. And a work wide of the goal. Rook back in over the line now for Robertson. His pass. This game was almost tied up on the same power play. Back to the point. Holding Yarncrook, his shot blocked and shot down the ice by Ottawa.
Yes, it is just the second shorthanded goal of the season for the Senators. The other one, Parker Kelly in the first game of the season against Carolina.
And across the line for the Maple Leafs, the penalty is over. And it is shot out into the center ice area by Ottawa. McCabe.
See if this goes to the legs of the Ottawa Senators.
Played up off a stick to center. Chip back. Broken up there by Gregor. Noah Gregor in over the line. Slid it in around back of the net for McMahon. He engages Sanderson, but the puck comes free, and Ottawa will play it off the boards and out at center. And a good hit there. And an icing call coming against Ottawa as Gregor got a pretty good hit on the Ottawa player coming out of his own zone.
I do believe Parker Kelly's first NHL goal was against Freddie Anderson in Ottawa. And Freddie was a member of the Leafs. That might have been the no fans year, 2021.
Draw won by the Leafs. Shot taken by Benoit was blocked. And the Sens get it out at center. Senator player went for a sprawl, but even though the from our broadcast partner here, no penalty call.
Well, if it was the other way around, I think my partner would have said, and no call. I think it was a penalty.
Here's Nyes into the slot. Got a shot away and a good save made by Korpisalo. Are you suggesting that I view these games with somewhat of blinders on, Mr. Rupp?
Well, let's say you're as big a Senators fan as you are a Michigan fan.
Oh, here's a shot from an angle that went off a leg and went wide. Tkachuk back to the point of drive. Good pad save made there by the blocking arm of Jones, and the Leafs. Nyes gets it out at center. Matthews flipping it in and then peeling to the bench. Nyes will chip it in a little deeper. The Leafs are changed. And now brought out by Josh Norris. Norris shoots it in, and there's going to be an offside call to stop play. With 6:46 to go in the second period, shorthanded goal from Parker Kelly has cut the lead in half. It's 2-1 Toronto. You're listening to Molson Leaf Hockey on TSN 1050 and the Maple Leafs Radio Network.
Hey everyone, it's your friend John Mayer here. Genres aren't rock or pop or hip-hop. They're real genres of life. They're like Mondays, dinner with family, songs I remember from junior high. And that's what you're going to get on Life with John Mayer. It's my music, it's everyone else's music. It's singing in the shower and a quiet night at home. Come along with me as I play music that fits the moments of your life as they happen. On now, Channel 14, and on the SiriusXM app.
24/7 Hockey Talk.
One of the greatest goaltenders of all time. Patrick Waugh, when you put your hands up, did you know at that moment that you were done?
No, I did not. Unfortunately, it happened. Just gave me a chance to have a fresh start somewhere else and be traded to Colorado was a good opportunity. Sometimes you need that little, change, and it was welcome for me.
SiriusXM NHL Network Radio. SiriusXM 91. And on your schedule with the SiriusXM app. The Point with Boomer Gordon.
18 months ago, I had New Flyers head coach John Tortorella. And I asked him what he was worried about the club, and he said, I don't like the room. We have a bad room. And I'm like, you haven't even coached this team yet. A year and a half later, John Tortorella loves his room. He loves this team, and he loves that they compete every night.
Points with Boomer Gordon. 1 p.m. Eastern on NHL Network Radio, Sirius XM 91, and the Sirius XM app. Hockey lives here.
Suzuki sweeps it. There's a chance. Rebound. Caulfield shoots and scores.
NHL play-by-play on Sirius XM.
6 minutes and 46 seconds left in the second period in a game that is going lickety-split. Well, it is the next generation game.
Yeah, got to get them home early.
People got to get home early, get into, make sure you're in bed. And how was your Christmas, Mr. Ralph? I trust it was enjoyable.
Yeah. Vaguely similar to the previous ones, which is good.
Oh, we had my grandkids, Caleb and Brooklyn, running around going crazy. With all of the gifts and everything else, it was a lot of fun. Leafs get the puck down in the offensive zone. Nylander pushes it to the far wing, pinching down Benoit. It goes to Bertuzzi. He tried to find Nylander, but it went by him, and Tavares sends it in front of the net. That was blocked. Tavares breaking his stick while trying to do just that. Now Benoit has his pocket picked, and then it was rolled by Tkachuk wide of the empty side of the net. Pushed out at center ice by Toronto, brought back in on a delay, and Ottawa changing as the Leafs organize in their own end. Benoit off the boards on the left wing. Launched into the zone there by the Leafs. Matthews. Puck is pushed back along the boards and around into the near corner. Matthews after it as it comes to the blue line. Kept in by Brody momentarily. And Ottawa will break out only to have it stripped away momentarily there from Batherson. But now a pass in front. Oh, and they score! Batherson got a rebound off a shot on the short side and has tied this game at 2s. And all of the action has been down to our left in the goal-scoring department.
Here, TJ Brody stumbles at the Leaf blue line. And that opened up the seam and Batherson to be wide open in front. Really a pretty simple play as Austin Matthews had it stripped from him, but it was TJ Brody got caught well up ice at the Leaf blue line. That left Morgan Riley to defend, and Martin Jones makes the first stop, but a huge rebound off his left pad, and the Ottawa Senators have tied this game at 2.
Marner back in across the line looking for Nyes. Had it hit a skate. Norris gets it out at center, but Matthews took it away from him. Played off Nyes' stick down into the zone. Senators go back after it. A 2-2 tie. Played up into neutral ice for Marner. Flipped on the wing. Matthews back to Marner. Marner holds. Works back towards the blue line. Still with it into the slot. Down low into the corner. He's going to get it back again. Traffic in front. Now the shot comes, but it goes off the stick and is caromed over the glass on the far side and has gone out of play. The Leafs 2 and the Ottawa Senators 2 here from Scotiabank Arena. You're listening to Molson Leaf Hockey on TSN 1050 and the Maple Leafs Radio Network.
What's up, Leafs fans? Another awesome night here on TSI. Thank you to each and every one of you for hanging out with us. Please don't forget to hit that like button as it helps bring more Leafs fans into the chat. The more the better. A big shout out to our insiders and VIP members. Your support is truly appreciated. I cannot explain to you what it means for this community. Please consider joining our community. It's only 99 cents a month. I made it as low as possible so that we can get more and more people joining our community. Awesome member exclusive emojis in the chat during these Leafs games, and add your name to the scroll down below. Anyways, enough of the necessary evils to keep growing this amazing Toronto sports community and Maple Leafs community. Back to Leafs hockey. Go Leafs go. I'll see you guys in the chat. Peace.
There's a Molson with your name on it. Canadian Ultra XL. Molson. Everyone in. Must be legal drinking age.
Love meatballs? You could have spaghetti and meatballs, but why have a dish where they're mentioned second, like an afterthought? With 2-for-1 Pizza's new meatball menu, meatballs are the star of the show with dishes like meatball pizza, with meatballs, green peppers, and red onions starting at just $11.99, or their oven-baked meatballs, baked in their classic tomato sauce topped with Italian herbs for just $10.99. Order online at 2for1pizza.com.
2-for-1 pizza, 2-for-1, oh, 2-for-1.
Leafs 2 and the Ottawa Senators 2. A shorthanded goal by Kelly from Giroux. And Giroux was stopped on a breakaway on the same power play. And Batherson scores from Stützle and Bernard Docker at 14:25. And this game is tied 2-2.
And after this game, for the Leafs, 9 of their next 13 will be on the road.
Including a West Coast trip with...
Well, actually 2 of them, the California trip and the Western Canada trip in that bunch.
A lot of the better teams in this league are out west on those 2 trips. Long shoot-in goes around the boards to the far side in the Toronto zone. Back to the point, near side for Chychrun. Chychrun's shot went off a leg, caromed wide, and Domi works around back of the net. Tried a long lead pass for Yarncrook, but it went astray, and so icing is the result.
Well, I think most people would have agreed when you looked at the schedule and said, wow, you get Buffalo, Columbus twice, and Ottawa in a 4-game stretch. What a great opportunity to make up some space in the Eastern Conference and the Atlantic Division. And so far, just 1 out of the 3 previous games resulted in wins.
Draw won by Toronto. Riley got to the far boards but couldn't control the puck. Now Domi helps him out. Max trying to protect it, got it up on the wing, but blocked. Domi can't, or at least Riley can't play it because his stick is broken, and now the Leafs can't get it out of their own end. Puck on the near side. Domi playing it up on the wall and pushed out at center by Yarncrook, but it's not going to get. Now Yarncrook has given his stick to Riley and gone to the bench. Back down comes Brody to punch it along the boards. Leafs unable to come up with it. That goes off the official around back of the net. Norris gets it around to the point. Trapped there by Sanderson. Nice move to get away from Domi. Sanderson then trying to play it deep. Had it intercepted by Morgan Riley, who gets it out. And an icing call is going to come here against Toronto.
For Drake Batherson in that goal, he now has points in 12 of his last 14 games. For 12 of his last 15. And that's his 8th goal during that stretch as well, so he's starting to heat up.
Well, Jacques Martin will certainly try to give this team more structure. And they were always a pretty good defensive team under his tutelage. And we'll see how that all works out as the puck goes down into the Ottawa zone. Yarncrook giving chase. Comes away with it, centered in front of the net. Matthews couldn't get around the one defenseman to get a shot in. Liljegren's pass intercepted. Brought back the other way, in over the line for Batherson. Batherson closes, and a good pad save made there by Jones. Leafs on the right wing for Liljegren. To the red line, didn't get it in. Grabbed off by Nyes. Now to Matthews. Matthews just flipping it towards the end boards. Nyes goes in there after it. Matthews couldn't get it out in front. Marner was stationed there. And now here's Stützle back in his own zone to find Sanderson. Sanderson down the right wing. Sharp angle down into the corner. Stops. Plays it into the far corner. Senators in there. Backhanded by Tarasenko back of the net. Leafs punch it along the wall, but it was blocked. Kept in nicely by Brandstrom. Brandstrom tries to center. Goes back to the point. A shot kicked away there by Jones. Chopped at. Leafs Marner gets it out into neutral ice. A nice, comfortable 2-0 lead evaporates because of a shorthanded goal and then a subsequent 5-on-5 goal. And the Ball game is very much in doubt here now. I shouldn't say in doubt, but competitively balanced. Played to the blue line and out at center ice. Senators equal in shots on goal now at 19 apiece. The Leafs had a 6-shot advantage in the first period. Liljegren got it out at center. Brought in on the right side by Gregor. Played down into the corner for McMahon. Gregor after a loose puck on the near boards. Works it back into the corner. Punched up on the wing by Ottawa, and Parker Kelly gets it out at center ice, only to have it intercepted by Toronto. David Camp will regroup it with the defense. Benoit alley-oops it down into Ottawa territory. Secured there by the Senators' defense and played back out at center and down into the Leaf end. William Lagesson to Benoit. Up ahead on the left wing, Tavares plays it around back of the net. His wingers joining him now after a change. And it is played down the ice off a stick, says the linesman, so no icing. Benoit to Lagesson in the near corner. He couldn't handle the pass cleanly. Now he's engaged with a couple of Senators. It's played around the boards to the far side. Sanderson getting it freed up to the line. Knocked off a body, trying to get wide and get in over the line was Tavares. He was too well covered, and the too well covered is going to be a penalty.
I was unsure whether it was an Ottawa or Toronto penalty.
Ottawa number 9, minor penalty, interference.
Because John Tavares, I thought, dangerously close to maybe getting a holding penalty, and that might be the reason there's a bit of a discussion with Josh Norris going to the bench or the penalty box. Because I think Norris was thinking, wait a minute, he grabbed me. But the Leafs, 26.8 seconds to go here late in the second period. But what a difference it would be if you could bang one in here.
19:33, the time of the penalty. The draw scrummed. Ottawa up against the boards, gets it freed up, and 3 Senators rush it to center, and in on the right side, a shot stopped. The rebound was knocked away, and now the Leafs countering. Long lead pass, knocking it down. The Leafs in alone. Tavares backhand shot stopped there by goaltender Korpisalo. Chances at either end.
Senators very nearly get their third shorthanded goal of the season. As Martin Jones makes the stop, and then a big rebound pops out that the Senators can't get a hold of. And John Tavares, knowing how much time is left in the period, is hovering around the Ottawa blue line. And really what hurt him is his inability to knock it down before and settle it while he was at full speed.
A shot from the point will end the period. And Willie Nylander had a great chance on the Tavares rebound, but shot it over top of the net and into the screen. So the Leafs score twice in the first, and Ottawa counters with 2 in the middle stanza. And after 40 minutes, it is the Leafs 2 and the Ottawa Senators 2. We'll step aside and join Jim Taddy for the second period intermission. You're listening to Molson Leaf Hockey on TSN 1050 and the Maple Leafs Radio Network.
Let's go, football fans. This week on Let's Go with Tom Brady and Larry Fitzgerald and me, Jim Gray. Special guest, John Legend.
The big comeback against the Falcons, Mr. Kraft booked me to play that party regardless of win or lose. You finally came back and won the game in such legendary fashion. You made my gig a lot easier.
Listen now to the extended version of Let's Go, exclusively on the SiriusXM app, included with all our trials and popular plans.
Let's go, baby. Let's go. The best player analysts and insiders live on NHL Network Radio. Mike Johnson.
5-on-5 defensive game for Tampa is getting to the point, Gord, where it is a concern. And it's not just because Vasilevsky hasn't played the entire season. They're giving up almost 4 goals a game. No matter how good your offense is, that's not going to be able to be sustainable.
Get the latest opinion and analysis you need on the home of hockey, NHL Network Radio, SiriusXM 91, and the SiriusXM app. The Power Play with Steve Koulias.
Not only is Sidney Crosby one of the greatest, probably top 5 NHL players of all time, and there's some non-hockey people in Pittsburgh that don't want to hear this, he's as good and as important as anyone who's ever played for the Pittsburgh Steelers. Whether you want to understand that or not, put that in your pipe and smoke it.
The Power Play, weekdays 3 p.m. Eastern on NHL Network Radio, Sirius XM 91 and the Sirius XM app. 24/7 hockey talk.
One of the greatest goaltenders of all time, Patrick Waugh. When you put your hands up, did you know at that moment that you were done?
No, I did not. Unfortunately, it happened. Just gave me a chance to have a fresh start somewhere else and be traded to Colorado was a good opportunity. Sometimes you need that little, change, and it was welcome for me.
Sirius XM NHL Network Radio, Sirius XM 91, and on your schedule with the Sirius XM app. The Point with Boomer Gordon.
18 months ago, I had new Flyers head coach John Tortorella. And I asked him what he was worried about the club, and he said, I don't like the room. We have a bad room. And I'm like, you haven't even coached this team yet. A year and a half later, John Tortorella loves his room. He loves this team, and he loves that they compete every night.
Point with Boomer Gordon. 1 p.m. Eastern on NHL Network Radio, Sirius XM 91 and the Sirius XM app. Under review.
And if someone says, well, he's good in the room, you know what? They don't have a good in the room stat in the standings. I've yet to find that category. It's one of the most overplayed things. They better be good in the room. That's the least you better bring when you join a National Hockey League team.
Under review with Mick Kern. 11 a.m. Eastern on NHL Network Radio, Sirius XM 91 and the Sirius XM app.
Hey Toronto, I'm David Morsuti, host of the daily Toronto Maple Leafs podcast, Locked On Leafs, part of the Locked On Podcast Network on the Sirius XM app. Every weekday, we bring you the latest Leafs news and analysis, break down all the action, including this game you're listening to right now, and preview the next one. We're giving you everything a Leafs fan could want, all in a daily 30-minute podcast. Download Locked On Leafs right now on the Sirius XM app, available with all trials and popular plans, or where you get your podcasts. Search Locked On Leafs.
Join me, Scott Laughlin, and Gord Stellick, along with former NHLer Mike Johnson for NHL Morning Skate, weekday morning, 7 a.m. Eastern on NHL Network Radio, Sirius XM 91.
Molson Canadian Leafs Hockey is on TSN 1050 and the Leafs Radio Network. The Leafs live here.
Oh, no, it's Ottawa 2 and Toronto 2 after 40 minutes of play. TSN After 40 is delivered by 241 Pizza. 241 Pizza taking it up a nacho with new 241 nachos and Irish nachos for just $9.99 each. Call 241. Jim Taddy and Josh Cloak from The Athletic here to analyze. And, quite frankly, we didn't get to it with all the gymnastics we were dealing with in the pregame show, but special teams should not be a factor in this game. The Ottawa power play fires at 17.6 and the PK at 71.3 for a grand total of 88.9. Not good. And yet, Kelly with a shorthanded goal jump-started the Ottawa Senators.
It often happens anytime one of your best penalty killers and TJ Brodie takes the penalty. Not a recipe for success. To my eyes, the Leafs just took their foot off the gas that period. Right? And that can often happen when you bust out to a lead, and I think we were singing their praises in the first intermission. They looked like a team that kind of had this game in the bank. But again, we've been talking so much about the mental side, and it just seemed like mentally they felt like they were in a place where the game was wrapped up, and here we are 2-2 against a very pesky Senators team, team that is going to hang around, has some pieces. And I didn't love, and this isn't to say, that the score line is on one person. Didn't love Martin Jones's rebound control in that period. I thought he gave up a few that led to some chances against. Again, Leafs don't need Martin Jones to be excellent. They need him to just be solid. He was solid in the first period, not so much in the second, and that's kind of it's a reason why we find ourselves where we are right now.
Yeah, having said that, though, I mean, they did take their foot off the gas. They were outshot 14-8 in that period. That shouldn't happen. And you see a lot of ebbs and flows in NHL games across the league. Somebody will start fast, they got the energy, and if it's not reflected on the scoreboard, and sometimes when it does, the other team can still come back. You cannot take your foot off the gas.
Not at home either. Right, you don't get every opportunity every night to play at home. And I just feel that so much of what this Leafs team has yet to conquer, again, is that mental side of the game. And understanding that, I know this is a term that was very in vogue 3 years ago around this team, but that killer instinct, right?
Yeah.
Really putting teams to bed. And perhaps we see that a little bit more in the third period. But that's something, we've talked about this before. How many games can you count this season from this Leafs team where from start to finish, it was very evident they were going to win this game, right?
Yeah.
This is a Leafs team that are never out of games.
No.
Right? We saw that against Columbus a few days ago, right? They have the talent to stick around, but they also have the mental attitude, I guess we can call it, to blow leads, right? So what's really, really lacking, and I think what's going to be a focus for this team, in the second half of the season, and probably will be as until they win a few playoff rounds, is the understanding of how to just put your foot on the gas, keep your foot on the gas, and not give the opposition any opportunities to come back into a game.
Well, that analysis that you applied to the Leafs applies to a large number of teams in the NHL.
Sure.
Which is not a breaking story. But the story is that I don't know that we were going to include the Leafs with a bunch of other teams. I think at this point in the rebuild or the program, you would expect they would be beyond that.
Sometimes I think we're still relatively early in the season enough that, we're looking at Max Domi being interviewed on TV. Like they still just have so many new faces this season that sometimes that kind of cohesion, that complete chemistry that, some of these Leafs teams in the past showed, this Leafs, current iteration just doesn't show night after night. And I wonder, what that is. But look, I think that's something that's still very much lacking for this team. Defensively, not a great period.
No.
And I think a lot of that, that ability to shut teams down, that starts in your own zone. That starts when you have the ability to neutralize plays and just not give the opposition any daylight. And, when you do that, we saw it in the first period, how quickly momentum swung in the Leafs' favor and how quickly it can swing back, too.
Well, and I've said this many times in these broadcasts, that if you give the team some space and let them cross your blue line with any kind of authority, it's hard to defend. So I'm gonna put a lot of that into, you can't defend the way you used to. So the obvious answer to that is don't give them space, don't let them cross your blue line with speed.
Every single period we see this kind of up and down, defensively unstable hockey. I kind of just look a little bit over my shoulder and look up at Brad Treliving and wonder how much longer he can watch this team play this kind of up and down hockey without going out and acquiring one, maybe two blue liners that are solid, stable, shut down. We're not talking about Chris Tanev in this town as much as we did a few weeks ago.
Right.
But you put a player like that out there, and I think this team just feels a lot more sound because right now they don't look like that. And I guess as I kind of mentioned, I just wonder how many more games of this up and down hockey the Leafs can play before Brad Treliving says enough is enough. We really need to settle this team down with a big, stable, responsible blue liner.
Well, not an issue in the first game back from Christmas, but if we're in the third week in January and we're still talking like this, something would have to be done, I would think.
Yeah, and that's why all eyes are going to be on some of the pieces that, we talked about at the beginning of the broadcast, Easton Cowan, Fraser Minton, even Nick Robertson, who's having a particularly energetic night. What's it going to take to get a player like that? We're going to wait and see.
So it is now 2-2 Ottawa and the Leafs after 40 minutes of play. This is Molson Canadian Leafs Hockey, live from Scotiabank Arena on TSN 1050, the iHeartRadio app, and the Leafs Radio Network.
From the biggest stadiums to the coziest holes in the wall. From house parties to porch hangs to pride celebrations. From your favorite fuzz shop to your local Indian spot. From noodle bars to sports bars to salsa bars. There's a Molson with your name on it. Canadian Ultra XL. Molson. Everyone in. Must be legal drinking age.
Alpine News Network is here live with one of our superheroes.
Love is in the air. Frank and Marge's daughter is getting married. They want to help with the wedding, but need to organize their finances with a debt consolidation loan and my telekinesis. I help them consolidate their bills. I promise I won't crash the wedding, but I am free that weekend.
Own your home? Need a loan? Alpine Credits can help.
Alpine Credits, where homeowners get approved. Just for license 12616.
Unhibernate. Verb. To laugh in the face of snow because you drive a Subaru. As in, when I unhibernate, I have the roads all to myself because my Subaru has symmetrical full-time all-wheel drive and others don't. Or, the award-winning safety in my Subaru means I can unhibernate all winter while my neighbors stare longingly from their bedroom windows. Or my favorite usage, I am going to unhibernate this winter by visiting my local Subaru dealer today. Welcome to Uncommon Winter Confidence.
NHL All-Star Thursday is coming to Toronto with 3 exciting events in one star-filled night. First, celebrity captains select their teams in the Tim Hortons NHL All-Star Player Draft. Then, the 1967 Stanley Cup champion Maple Leafs are honored in the NHL Alumni Man of the Year. And finally, the best in women's hockey compete in the Canadian Tire PWHL 3-on-3 Showcase. It's NHL All-Star Thursday on February 1st. Buy tickets now starting at $44 at NHL.com/Thursday.
Want to be certain your reno goes right? Start with Pro Materials with CertainTeed Drywall. In fire resistant, water resistant, super durable, or soundproof and top quality insulation. Ceiling systems, premium shingles, and siding. Do it right with professional grade building materials from CertainTeed. Pro all the way.
The NHL Scoreboard is brought to you by Maple Toyota. Build your next dream Toyota at Maple Toyota. And check out Maple Toyota's pre-owned inventory arriving daily. Guy, it's time to Toyota. Visit mapletoyota.com. All right, here's what we have out of town. It is the Bruins 3-0 over the Sabres. That is midway through the second period. Also midway through the second, Pittsburgh 1-0 over the Islanders. Jackets have a 2-1 lead over the Devils. End of the second. After 40 minutes of play, Rangers 3-1 over the Capitals. Also after 2 periods of play, Panthers 2-0 over the Tampa Bay Lightning. End of the second as well. Of course, here 2-2 Leafs and Senators. End of the first, Detroit and Minnesota tied at 1. End of the first, Carolina 2-0 over the Predators. End of the first, Blues 1-0 over the Stars. Later on, starting at 9 o'clock, Avs in Arizona, Jets in Chicago, Seattle in Calgary at 9:30. At 10, Golden Knights visiting the Ducks. And also at 10, the Sharks in LA against the Kings. In our game, 2-2. After 40 minutes of play, this is Bolsa Canadian Leafs Hockey on TSN 1050, the iHeartRadio app, and the Leafs Radio Network.
Here's what's happening on Sirius XM Sports.
Prepping for the crucial NFL Week 17. Sirius XM NFL Radio with a comprehensive look at all the matchups this coming weekend, the impact of personnel changes along with the latest with injuries, expert analysis on your home for football. NFL Radio, Sirius XM Channel 88, and the Sirius XM app.
Sirius XM Sports, wherever you are, your team plays here.
Under review.
And if someone says, well, he's good in the room, you know what? They don't have a good in the room stat in the standings. I've yet to find that category. It's one of the most overplayed things. They better be good in the room. That's the least you better bring when you join a National Hockey League team.
Under review with Mick Kerr, 11 a.m. Eastern on NHL Network Radio, Sirius XM 91, and the Sirius XM app.
Hey Toronto, I'm David Morsuti, host of the daily Toronto Maple Leafs podcast, Locked On Leafs, part of the Locked On Podcast Network on the Sirius XM app. Every weekday, we bring you the latest Leafs news and analysis, break down all the action, including this game you're listening to right now, and preview the next one. We're giving you everything a Leafs fan could want, all in a daily 30-minute podcast. Download Locked On Leafs right now on the Sirius XM app, available with all trials and popular plans, or where you get your podcasts. Search Locked On Leafs.
If you're a soccer fan, you know that this music means one thing. The Champions League is on Sirius XM FC.
Hat-trick for Erling Haaland. Kane scores!
The top teams from around Europe are battling for club soccer's holy grail.
Real Madrid do what they do best. What a start for Inter.
Hear all the top Champions League matches all tournament long on Sirius XM FC 157 and streaming on the Sirius XM app.
Hi, this is Ray Hudson, and for all the biggest matches from club soccer's holy grail, the UEFA Champions League, tune in to Sirius XM FC 157.
Maple Leafs with a 2-2 tie. Heading to the third period of play. Shots on goal are even at 20 apiece. The Senators out shooting the Leafs 14-8 in the second period, and the game turned on a Toronto power play when Kelly was able to break in after a pass from Giroux, and Parker Kelly cut the margin to 2-1 with the shorthanded goal. Second goal of the season for Kelly. And then Batherson scored from Stützle and Bernard Docker, his 12th at 14-25. And this game is deadlocked at 2 apiece. And all of the scoring have been down to our left. So if you've got tickets over by Bremner Avenue, you've been in the right end of the building here on Next Generation Night. Lots of kids in attendance and lots of kids doing part of the entertainment part of the program here at Scotiabank Arena. The Leafs' next action will be in Columbus on Friday night. We'll have that action for you beginning at 7 p.m.
Well, let's hope this game doesn't go to overtime then.
Why is that?
All the goals are down to our left. That's where the Leafs should be in overtime.
Good point by you, yes.
Well, it's not as much fun when you got to explain it, but thanks.
Thank you.
What do you mean?
You know, I've parked a lot of my brain mass during the Christmas season. How shall I say, some of it is still stewing. But it's good to have you here to make sure that I, understand how the rest of this game is played.
Stewing or pickling?
Well, I just pickled. Oh, I got a nice, one of my sons gave me a nice bottle of Kilbeggan Irish whiskey. My favorite. Not much of it's left, but it's my favorite.
And a big straw?
Oh, yeah. Leafs to the right and the Senators to the left, where all of the goals have been scored thus far, as the Leafs start out on the power play here to start the third period. Brought through center by Tavares. Hits the line. Works back on the near boards. Got it back to Riley. Far side Nylander closing with a shot. That was blocked, but Willie has the rebound. Works down to the half boards and gives it to Matthews. Back to the point. Riley. Now to Matthews. Holds. Down low. Tavares jamming at it. What a chance Marner had and couldn't get it past the right pad. Now Matthews a drive, and that's whistled wide. Kept alive by Nylander. Near boards. Down low Marner. Works back out in front. Into the circles. Down low to Willie. Willie getting wide and then shot it high. And it's gone off the corner boards and all the way down into the Leaf end. A bad change here by the Leafs allows Stützle to get down there on the forecheck, but now it's brought back by the Leafs as he fell. In across the line. Liljegren. Right wing side, now back into the slot. Shot taken and into the glove by Marner and into the glove of Korpisalo. He'll hold for a face-off.
Well, you're right, though. The Leafs dangerously close to giving up another shorthanded opportunity. It's Morgan Riley. The puck went down to the Leaf zone. Morgan Riley went right to the Leaf bench. And Tim Stützle read the play perfectly and took off after the loose puck before a Leaf defender could get out. And unfortunately, Stützle stumbled and fell in behind the Toronto net.
Draw to the right of Korpisalo. 2-2 tie. Back to the point, kept in by McCabe. Cross ice to defense partner Liljegren. Liljegren down into the right wing corner. Back it goes to McCabe. McCabe walks the line. Left wing side, Domi. Shooting! That was blocked. The rebound! And Bertuzzi couldn't stuff it in. Now the goaltender's lost his goal stick. Bertuzzi trying to knock it out in front. And a sweeping attempt there by Yarncrook. Had to go wide. And as it goes down into the Toronto zone, goaltender Korpisalo has retrieved his lumber. Power play ends. Bertuzzi sending a long shoot in over top of the Ottawa goal. Far corner for Jacob Chychrun. And the Senators are starting out with it. Stützle in on the left wing. Driving and going wide. Taken to the boards with a pretty solid hit there by the Maple Leafs. And now here's Brody. Backhanding it through center ice and into the Ottawa end. Now a turnover almost there for Camp. Leafs shoot it right back in again. It's gone high, though, and rims the top of the glass and goes out of play. And a face-off will come in the Ottawa zone as a result.
Mentioned Jacques Martin in behind the Ottawa Senators bench. His first head coaching job. Actually, as a member of the St. Louis Blues in the 1986-87 season. 5 years before, Keith Tkachuk would make his NHL debut. And of course now Jacques Martin is coaching Brady, son of Keith.
Played down into the Toronto zone. Tkachuk takes down McCabe. Folks were hollering for a penalty. The Leafs are able to punch it out at center. David Camp in with a long shot that is swallowed up by Korpisalo. They'll bring a face-off in the Ottawa zone as a result.
A little bit of pushing and shoving after, but it was a clean hit. And it was McMahon that went after Tkachuk just to pay respects.
Austin Matthews was credited with the opening goal until video review noticed that the tippy toes of Matthew Nyes had deflected the puck into the net for the opening Toronto goal. But he's on a 70-goal pace. There have been 14 times in the NHL's history that a player scored 70 or more. Wayne Gretzky did it 4 times. Brett Hull did it 3 times.
I'm not sure if I said Matthew Tkachuk. Brady Tkachuk, obviously, is the Ottawa Senator.
Yes.
That's
a shot off a face-off win was deflected into the near corner in the Ottawa zone. Now chipped high to the Toronto blue line. Wrapped at there by the Leafs. Lagesson is able to drag it back into the corner. Benoit joins him in there. Nyes head on a swivel, looking to make sure no one creeps in as Artem Zub is alone in front of the net. But now the Leafs are able to punch it on towards the line, but not out. Kept in with a long shot, deflected right on. Down is Jones, and he's able to cover up on it. And then Benoit takes his man into the corner. Not sure who that. I think that is Ridley Gregg. And now some punches being thrown in the near corner. It is Gregg and Lagesson. Gregg gets a hand free. Lagesson gets an uppercut. Both at fairly long range holding out, but both still on their feet in the near corner. Gregg gets a punch thrown. Lagesson's got his jersey pulled up and hoping to get an uppercut in at the end, and he does.
Well, the kids like it. Here in the stand is quite a roar from the crowd as Lagesson takes his helmet off and makes his way over to the penalty box. I don't think we're going to get an instigator here as Ridley Gregg and Lagesson both head to the box. Ridley Gregg's father, Mark Gregg, played in the National Hockey League. And it's all coming after what turns out to be a dangerous play. A wrist shot from the point, which is going 15 feet wide. And it's redirected, a perfect midair redirection that gets it right on Martin Jones. It had to be alert.
Gregg had Lagesson all tied up in a headlock, and the Leaf defenseman did fairly well in that altercation.
He got a couple in.
Face off in the Toronto zone to the right. Martin Jones. Leafs have a day off before playing in Columbus, but then they play back-to-back. And there will be all kinds of speculation as to what happens with Ilya Samsonov, whether he would play that game. There's some speculation that Dennis Hildeby with the Marlies. In fact, Lance Hornby of the Toronto Sun almost had one of those things like the Ohtani airplane ride coming from Anaheim when Hildeby wasn't here to play in the Boxing Day game. Instead, they had bussed him to where they're playing tonight.
They used to always send me the different cities and the team is playing in.
You know, that's just a good traveling secretary to know that.
Yeah. Actually, I was a traveling secretary, too.
Oh, a chance with a man in front of the net. A deflection just goes wide of the Leaf goal. Sharp angle shot. Scores! Drake Batherson, I think, is going to get credit for it. It was right along the goal line and somehow finds a way into the net. And the Senators have scored 3 in a row and have the lead. And Batherson has his second of the game.
The original shot for the point was redirected wide and off the backboards to the left of Martin Jones. Jones got back to the post. He was standing up, but Batherson from below the goal line to Jones's left rifles it towards the net, and that little space between the shoulder and the crossbar is enough to have it bounce in off Jones and into the net. And those are the goals we talked about, Joe, where you say if the ones that have a little bit of odor to it, and especially in a tie game.
Centering pass now, backhand by Tavares, went high and wide. McCabe trying to keep the puck in, but it comes out into the center ice area. Liljegren stands up Tkachuk, and the Maple Leafs have it in their own zone, playing it out into neutral ice. Rattled right back in again by hnic. Leafs along the near boards. McCabe gets it out at center, but not far enough, and now brought back in again. Here's a chance for Kostelic, a shot that was deflected wide of the Leafs' goal. Shot back in, and an icing call this time against Ottawa. Will bring it back into the Senators' end, but the Leafs, who led 2-0 and seem to have things well under control, a shorthanded goal has tipped the scale.
It was 6 minutes and 4 seconds into the game that the Leafs had a 2-0 lead.
Draw one by Toronto. Riley for Marner. Marner down low with a shot. That was stopped. Marner trying to get the rebound. Gets it back to Riley. Riley to Marner again. Curling out. In along the boards for Matthews. He was bowled over from behind. And the fans hollering for a penalty and none forthcoming. Back come the Senators with a long shot. Steered wide of the net by Jones. Chipped along the boards by Marner. Played it between his legs but couldn't find a Toronto player. And the Leafs now in the near corner, and it is Morgan Riley skating it through neutral ice, slowly to center. Long shooting goes wide. Round back of the net, cut off there, and Sanderson for Ottawa, looking to find skating room, pumped out at center, and Stützle has it to the line and in. Tim Stützle down into the corner. Batherson trying to free it up, played it back around the boards. Goes back to the Toronto net. Leafs organizing again as Ottawa trying to change. Pass gets ahead, and Yarncrook will get it into the Ottawa end. Domi coming out of the corner, rolled it out in front. There's a sweeping shot then by Robertson that went wide. Yarncrook couldn't get it in front. Domi back of the net, does get it in front, but it was intercepted. Cleared to the line, but not out. Leafs play it right back in. It bounces to the goal crease area. Leafs come away with it. Yarncrook, good offensive pressure here. Riley centering into the goal crease, and the stick of Domi was too well covered. Around the boards, it's going to find Riley once more. Given a jolt there by Tkachuk. Got it back of the net. Zub tackles his man back of the goal. Sanderson just wants to get rid of it and has launched it to center ice. It ends up going for icing, but the linesmen don't pay attention. And Liljegren starts back. Pass ahead. Broken up at the blue line. Back come the Sens with a backhand by Kubalik. That is swallowed up by Jones. Face-off coming in the Toronto zone when we return. Ottawa has its first lead of the game. Batherson from Tarasenko and hnic. and it is 3-2 Ottawa. You're listening to Molson Leaf Hockey on TSN 1050 and the Maple Leafs Radio Network.
Every fantasy football player has a date with destiny, and your time is now. It's Championship Week on SiriusXM Fantasy Sports Radio. Listen and dominate your competition with expert analysis from a fantasy perspective.
Don't just think of it through the lens of your own team. Think about who are the teams I'm going to be playing. Can I prevent their rosters from getting better?
Go home a champion or just go home. The Fantasy Football Playoffs.
This time of the year, I want upside.
Fantasy Sports Radio, Channel 87, and on the SiriusXM app.
The best player analysts and insiders live on NHL Network Radio. Mike Johnson.
5-on-5 defensive game for Tampa is getting to the point, Gord, where it is a concern. And it's not just because Vasilevsky hasn't played the entire season. They're giving up almost 4 goals a game. No matter how good your offense is, that's not going to be able to be sustainable.
Get the latest opinion and analysis you need on the home of hockey, NHL Network Radio, SiriusXM 91, and the SiriusXM app. The Power Play with Steve Koulias.
Not only is Sidney Crosby one of the greatest, probably top 5 NHL players of all time, and there's some non-hockey people in Pittsburgh that don't want to hear this, he's as good and as important as anyone who's ever played for the Pittsburgh Steelers. Whether you want to understand that or not, put that in your pipe and smoke it.
The Power Play, weekdays 3 p.m. Eastern on NHL Network Radio, SiriusXM 91, and the SiriusXM app.
Hi, this is Ray Hudson, and for all the biggest matches from club soccer's holy grail, the UEFA Champions League, tune in to SiriusXM FC 157.
Face off in the Toronto zone to the left of Martin Jones. Men of the game with a .917 save percentage. Korpisalo is at .891. But it's the Senators who have the lead, and now a wraparound is thwarted there, and it goes into the far corner. Parker Kelly took that right out of the corner, looking for his second goal of the game. Leafs get it up on the wing. Nyes trying to find Marner, plays it down into the corner. Marner gets around one man and is able to play it in along the boards. Matthews and Nyes couldn't get it out. It comes out and down the ice now by Ottawa. And no icing. I'm not really sure why that was, to be honest with you, but okay. New rules brought in on the right side now for Toronto. Bertuzzi holds and sends it towards the front of the net. It's blocked. Tavares trying to center. Korpisalo out of position. It rolled right along the goal line. Oh, my. And was scooped out at the last second. Crowd buzzing. Tavares a shot, and it's into the glove of Korpisalo and held.
Boy, that was Tyler Bertuzzi again with 2 opportunities with open nets. But I think Joe Korpisalo, when he turns, is able to get his glove on it just enough to knock it away from Tyler Bertuzzi. As Bertuzzi had gone to the front of the net, and just as he was about to slide it in on the backhand, Korpisalo spun around with the glove and ticked it just enough to have it bounce away and eventually be cleared by the Senator defenseman.
Not sure if you can work your pinky finger that well in one of those gloves, but he certainly seemed to, didn't he? Sens get it out at center for Tkachuk. Works to the line with a pass into the left wing corner. Stützle sends it around the boards. Pinching down there was hnic, but it goes off a body and out at center ice. Giroux has it go off the stick of Tavares, clearing the glass and going out of play.
As mentioned, especially since Jacques Martin's taken over, the Ottawa Senators have struggled with leads. Very first game against Arizona that Jacques Martin's returned behind the Ottawa Senators bench. They were up 3-0 after the first period, lost 4-3. They took a 4-2 lead into the third period in Colorado, lost 6-4. And actually had a 2-goal lead on the Pittsburgh Penguins. Blew the 2-goal lead, but Stützle won it in overtime.
Now the Leafs in over the line with a shot that goes wide of the net. McCabe trying to get it back to the goal for Robertson. To Domi. Domi couldn't lift it over a stick, and now the Senators trying to get it to the line and out, but don't. Long shoot in goes wide of the net. Left wing side, Robertson. Robertson banks it back to the blue line. McCabe to his defense partner in a shot block. Rebound in front, comes back to McCabe. His shot is high and wide of the goal. Domi with it again. To the point to Liljegren, and now to McCabe once more. Fakes a shot, then let it go, and it was deflected by Yarncrook, but right into the chest of Korpisalo, who is, I think he's all right. Taking a little extra time to get up onto his feet. And a face-off again in the Ottawa zone. Leafs now out shooting Ottawa 30-26, but it's 3-2. Senators with the lead.
So far, the best opportunity was Tyler Bertuzzi near the goal line. Leafs have controlled the period. But they still have that moments in their own zone where, like we saw with Parker Kelly, all of a sudden wide open in front of the net.
Rolled out into the center ice area and back into the Toronto zone. Riley around the boards to find Marner at center. Chipped it in over the line. Nyes couldn't catch up to it. Puck turned over, and now Stützle starts back for Ottawa. Hits the line and in. Pulls up, tried to get it in, and a shot went just wide as Drake Batherson got it away. Another shot goes wide of the Leaf goal. Batherson with it back to the point of drive. Knocked away nicely by Jones. Leafs get it out. It's rolling on edge and is going to go for icing. And the fans are a little upset at the linesman for that call. I like it when the crowd demonstrates what I think.
Yeah, and it usually always works.
And then I can be, that impartial type guy that I always am.
Yeah.
You just notice,
They're moving the face-off back to the Ottawa zone.
Thanks to the crowd.
Yes.
Leafs win the face-off, get it to center. Nyes backhanding it in and going to the bench. Turning with it is Giroux. Works through center and launches it in. Intercepted quickly by the Leafs. Pushed out at center, but it got away from Bobby McMahon. Now McMahon is able to dive and knock it in over the line. Sharp angle shot by Camp was stopped by the pad of Korpisalo. And played out and down into the Toronto end, and that will get the Leafs back. And Benoit starting up ice. Up ahead it goes. Launched right back in again. Gregor in pursuit as it's pounded on the boards to center. Intercepted there, and Benoit back on the near side. Backhanded by Camp back in. Gregor is in pursuit again. Got a hit there on the end boards, but the Sens have brought it out at center. Bernard Docker with a shoot in, and now a change coming for Ottawa. Leafs get it to Gregor. Gregor gets it in over the line. Knocked down by Bernard Docker, and he gets his defense partner the puck. And now has it returned, and out at center ice it comes, but it's out of the reach of Brandstrom, and the Leafs send it right back into Ottawa territory. Tavares in pursuit on the forecheck. Played out at center ice by Ottawa. Crowd getting back into it. Now here's Tavares back to the net. A wraparound attempt to stop. That is bouncing around in front of the goal. They jam away at it. And there are about half dozen players in the goal crease.
Well, a smart play by John Tavares. The Senators actually cleared the zone and played the puck back into their own end. So John Tavares, if it was a Leaf that sent it back into the Ottawa zone, would have been offside. Tavares read the play. That's why he was able to jump on the loose puck and eventually work it out front.
It is 3-2 Ottawa, and you're listening to Molson Leaf Hockey on TSN 1050 and the Maple Leafs Radio Network.
There are many peculiar words in the English language. Words like salivigant, peregrinate, nemophilus, peripatetic, and conviviality. Yet, there is no word for getting the most out of winter in your Subaru, thanks to symmetrical full-time all-wheel drive and X-Mode. Until now. We call it unhibernate. As in, while your neighbors stay home, you'll be unhibernating all winter in your Subaru. So peregrinate to your local Subaru dealer today, and welcome to uncommon winter confidence.
Want to be certain your reno goes right? Start with Pro Materials with Certainty Drywall. In fire resistant, water resistant, super durable, or soundproof and top quality insulation. Ceiling systems, premium shingles, and siding. Do it right with professional-grade building materials from CertainTeed. Pro all the way.
Alpine News Network is here live with one of our superheroes.
It's a bird. It's a plane. Oh, it's just me helping the city with my super strength. And help is what we did for Dave and Keith. They wanted a new living room, and we're approved for a home renovation loan. I'm invited to their next potluck, and I'm bringing my famous hero dip. I basically just melt a jar of cheese with my super heat vision.
Own your home? Need a loan? Alpine Credits can help.
Alpine Credits, where homeowners get approved. Just for license 12616.
8 minutes and 59 seconds left in the third period. The Leafs trail 3-2 on a Drake Batherson goal, his second of the game from hnic and Tarasenko at 3:44 of this third period. As the Sens erase a 2-0 Toronto lead with 2 in the second and another one here in the third. The Leafs have had the better scoring chances since that go-ahead goal, but have not been able to jam one in behind. Jonas Korpisalo.
It's at the point where you start thinking, though, is this one of those nights where Bertuzzi's missed a couple of empty nets from about 3 feet?
Draw one by Ottawa. Played up on the wing. Giroux backhands it to center. Nylander settling it down to find his defenseman. And now a pass ahead for Morgan Rielly. Finds Tavares. He'll shoot it in. Rielly around the boards. It's going to come back to the blue line where Nylander was stationed, but the Sens have iced the puck.
He's been pretty even in the face-off dot. Leafs have won 51%. And John Tavares, who is among the league leaders in face-off proficiency, just 8 of 16 has gone the Leafs' way. Austin Matthews, 10 of 20.
Draw one by Toronto. Here's McCabe with a shot pad save made by Korpisalo. There was a juicy rebound, but it literally exploded past 2 Leafs who were stationed in front of the net. Now here's McCabe in across the line, dropping it back. Nyes has his stick explode, and it goes into the far corner. Brought out at center ice and back into the Toronto end. McCabe to his defense partner, Liljegren. Return pass finds McCabe. Jake McCabe in over the line, dropping it back. Trying to play it in was Matthews. He had it taken away, and now Matthews got to get on his horse. Brought in by Tarasenko on the right wing side. In a goal, and Matthews got back in time to knock it away. Giddy up, mule, giddy up. Played out into the center ice area. Not to say he wouldn't be on some sort of a stallion, not a mule, but anyway. Played along the boards and out in center. Nyes will backhand in and tried to get to the bench but couldn't. Now Ottawa peppers it down into the Toronto zone. Centering pass intercepted, and Yarncrook starts away on the right side. Gets to the red line, into the zone it goes. Hustles in there after it. Got a piece of his man. So did Robertson, but the puck comes free, and the Sens have it out at center and backhanded down into the Toronto end, and they'll peel to the bench for a change. 7 minutes and 6 seconds to go in the third. The Leafs need a goal to tie. Brought in by Domi. Held back to the point. Shot taken by Brody, went high over top of the net. Rielly pitching it along the boards for Robertson, who tried to drag it out in front but had it knocked off his stick. Sens get it out at center. Leafs are there. Up on the wing and chipping it in was the Leafs, but it is the Sens who have control of it now, and both teams are changing. 6.5 minutes to go. Senators backpedal in their own zone. Chychrun waiting patiently. Got it up ahead. Giroux, a pass through center. In on the right side for Kutchuk. He got a wrist shot away, but it was high and wide. The rebound knocked towards the net, stopped by the blocker of Jones. Leafs back of the net for Liljegren. Liljegren banking it ahead. It's going to clear the zone and go down into the offensive end, but as icing call here, and I don't know if Nylander was out of gas, but he certainly didn't give it much of an effort. He might have been in position to beat the Ottawa player to the goal line.
I'll give the Senators credit. I mean, even though the Leafs have had a handful of chances here in the third period, the Leafs have not had a lot of offensive zone time where they've controlled the play and pressured the Senators like the Leafs did in the opening period when they got off to the 2-0 lead.
Stützle waved out of the face-off circle. And then the Ottawa Senators win the draw. Zub with a shot. Good blocker save made there by Jones. Puck is around back of the Toronto net. Worked up on the boards for Bertuzzi. Bertuzzi got it ahead for Tavares. Right wing side, Nylander shooting! Big pad save and a huge rebound. Comes all the way to center ice.
Too bad the defense for the Leafs were on a line change, and that's why Brody and Riley were late getting into the zone. They would have had a great opportunity not only to keep it in, but deliver it to the net.
Zub gets it down into the Leaf zone. Riley couldn't get there in time for an icing. And now Brody has it in his own zone with a pass ahead. Matthews comes to the line and flips it into the near corner. Tried to get in there after it, but was too well covered by Chychrun. Puck is around back of the net. It's going to come to the point. Benoit to the far side. Lagesson drops it back. Shot in traffic. Deflected just wide. Matthews letting it go from top of the circle area. Nyes for Matthews. Back to Nyes. Back to Matthews. Around back of the net. It's going to find Brody on the far side. Dropped it back to the point. Kept alive by Toronto. Matthews, a spinning move. Upended and hauled down by Travis Hamonic, who gets away with one. Back and down the ice, it's sent by Ottawa. Yeah, I got to agree with the guys who are booing in the crowd. I think that was a penalty.
Now don't look at the replay then.
Okay.
It looked like Matthews might have blown a tire as he tried to tight turn on the far boards. 4:37 to go. Really, Nylander, I mean, that great play. Tarasenko, you give him credit as well, as he got back on the back check to take away any opportunity off the rebound.
Draw to the right of Korpisalo, 4:37 to play. Senators trying to nurse a 3-2 lead home. Domi, scrum the draw. Got some assistance there from Yarncrook to the far point. Liljegren works down into the corner. Spun around, puck still free, back of the net. Robertson for Domi in front of the goal, and the one-time effort by Yarncrook. He missed it completely. Down the ice it goes.
Boy, Domi got a lot on that pass, didn't he?
Yeah. McCabe plays it deep into Ottawa territory. Senators send it around the wall. McCabe pinches to keep it in. Along the boards, it's punched out at center and down the ice, and this will be icing. With 3:57 to go. Now, the Leafs have had a penchant for scoring with 6 attackers, so we'll wait and see, but 3:57 is probably a little bit early for Martin Jones to be heading to the bench.
Last time was obviously when the Leafs were down 5-0 in the third period to Columbus, but the last 2 goals to tie the game from Austin Matthews were with the goaltender on the bench.
Brody trying to play it ahead, had it knocked away, played into the Toronto zone. Giroux gets it around back of the net for Tkachuk. Tkachuk against the boards, battles with a pass in front of the net. That's blocked. Norris into the corner now, and now it is Bertuzzi finding a little skating room to his liking and gets it up on the left wing side. Nicely played by Riley. Long shoot-in goes into the glove of Korpisalo, and with 3:20 to go, there's a face-off coming in the Ottawa zone, and it'll be a TV timeout. That's the reason that Martin Jones is going to the bench. 3-2 Ottawa. You're listening to Molson Leaf Hockey on TSN 1050 and the Maple Leafs Radio Network.
SiriusXM Triumph. Get real answers with Dr. Laura.
No nonsense advice about relationships, marriage, kids.
Tough love.
It happened is not a phrase anybody uses when they take responsibility.
Inspiration.
Every time you go to bed with a negative thought, you have to match it up with a positive one. That's your new rule.
Dr. Laura. Plus Glenn Beck, Nancy Grace, Dave Ramsey, and Megyn Kelly. All on Triumph. SiriusXM 111 and on the SiriusXM app.
24/7 Hockey Talk.
One of the greatest goaltenders of all time, Patrick Waugh. when you put your hands up, did you know at that moment that you were done?
No, I did not. Unfortunately, it happened. Just gave me a chance to have a fresh start somewhere else and be traded to Colorado was a good opportunity. Sometimes you need that will, change, and it was welcome for me.
Sirius XM NHL Network Radio, Sirius XM 91, and on your schedule with the Sirius XM app. The Point with Boomer Gordon.
18 months ago, I had new Flyers head coach John Tortorella. And I asked him what he was worried about the club, and he said, I don't like the room. We have a bad room. And I'm like, you haven't even coached this team yet. A year and a half later, John Tortorella loves his room. He loves this team, and he loves that they compete every night.
Point with Boomer Gordon. 1 p.m. Eastern on NHL Network Radio, Sirius XM 91, and the Sirius XM app. The biggest names in the game.
Trying to get behind Ristolainen, walks in, put it between his legs, shoots and scores!
NHL play-by-play on Sirius XM.
3 minutes and 20 seconds to play, and goaltender Martin Jones has gone to the bench. 6 attackers on for the Maple Leafs. Tavares, Matthews, Marner, Riley, Nylander. A draw in the circle to the right, won by Ottawa. Sanderson trying to play it out, had it blocked. Marner trying to chop at it. It goes to Matthews, back into the corner. Marner holds, looks for a man. The Leafs try to stretch things out a little bit. Marner on the far half boards, still with it. Works it back into the corner, now being pressured. Sends it to Matthews, centered in front of shot. One-timer there went just wide of the goal. Riley's pass blocked. Down the boards, it comes back to the blue line. Kept in with a shot wide of the net. Matthews far corner, trying to keep it in. Has it knocked away and is backhanded out at center ice. And Nylander will go back for it. Nylander to the line and in for Tavares. Sent into the corner. Nylander had it knocked off his stick. Punched out and down the ice. Ottawa with an open net. And Tkachuk is going to ice this one with an empty netter with 2:27 to go.
And Brady Tkachuk, for some reason, decides he's going to stare down some of the fans in behind the Leaf net and give an extra celebration. So the Leafs in their second and final game against the Ottawa Senators on home ice. Barring another miracle comeback for the Leafs, they'll be 0-2 against Ottawa. And if you factor in the teams that are at the bottom of the National Hockey League, they obviously haven't played Anaheim or San Jose yet. But when you factor in Chicago, Ottawa, Columbus, and Buffalo, the Leafs have won 2 out of 9 against those teams. And I made a little bit better. You're first in the division, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And not a dramatic amount either. There goes Jones to the bench again. Leafs will get it out at center. McCabe to Bertuzzi. He gets in over the line. Bertuzzi will ring the boards with it to the far side. Domi is over there. Domi against the boards. Bertuzzi gets it back to the point. 1:55 to go, and the Leafs need 2. Robertson, a centering pass that was blocked. Grabbed off and shot wide of the goal by McCabe. Domi gets it back to the blue line. To McCabe on the left wing. A pass back is deflected up into the screen, out of play. And another faceoff will come in the Ottawa zone. And here come Tavares, Nylander, and Matthews, and Marner again.
Leafs are in full control of this game. Got off to the great start, a 2-0 lead, less than 7 minutes in. But a shorthanded goal in a moment where the Leafs could have felt like put the game away. At the time, midway through the second period, instead of making it 3-0, they give up a shorthanded goal. And all of a sudden, the Ottawa Senators became very interested in the outcome of this game.
Bouncing puck along the boards, pushed out at center ice again. Tavares took a swipe at it, but it's up against the boards right at the center ice red line. And as it comes free, Matthews goes back into his own zone. Minute 20 to go in the third. Marner to center, dropping it back for Matthews. Matthews comes to the wing, off the side to Tavares. Tavares will swing it around the boards to the far side. Marner dropping it back to Willie. Nylander with a shot in traffic went wide. Riley back to the far side. Matthews gets some assistance but can't come up with it, and the Sens are going to backhand it out into neutral ice and down into the Toronto end with less than a minute to go. Tkachuk from Tarasenko is the empty net goal for Ottawa. Rattled back down into the Ottawa end. Played around the boards. Batherson trying to get to it. Played up on the wing for Stützle. Leafs intercept. A shot at the empty net is going to go wide. And icing will be called here against Ottawa, but 22.2 seconds left in this one.
It's hard to really put it into words, isn't it?
It is.
Their inability.
But it's their DNA, isn't it? It's not like this hasn't happened in other years.
I mean, there's a lot in their DNA that needs to change by next April, as the Leafs and Sheldon Keefe have called a timeout. But it is absolutely baffling, whether it's the Sabres or Columbus or Ottawa or Chicago. And I think that's, for a lot of hockey people, keeps the Leafs out of the elite of the National Hockey League. They're on the cusp, but that keeps them. You know, you'll see Boston at the odd time, will lose to Seattle or Anaheim at home, but they really seem to take care of business when it comes to the teams that are well below them in the standings.
Now, in fairness, Ottawa, this is their biggest rival. Would you not say? Buffalo, would you not think that Toronto is probably their biggest rival? Now, I'm not trying to, but you're going to get their best effort. And the Leafs do not match it. That's the issue. As a shot there by Matthews hit the side of the goal, he gets another crack at it. Korpisalo with a bit of a camera save on the glove and is going to bring a face-off with 3.9 seconds remaining in the game.
Right now, I mean, it's going to rest on the big boys. They were outstanding early on.
Yeah, I think this whole game turned after they took the goal away from Austin Matthews and gave it to Nyes.
Yep, they're going to send Nyes down.
Yeah. There's the horn that ends it. The Ottawa Senators are full marks for a 4-2 victory here against the Maple Leafs. And a disappointing effort by the Leafs, who had a 2-0 lead and saw it evaporate in the second period after Nyes and Bertuzzi scored. Kelly scored shorthanded, and that was the catalyst. I think that really sparked Ottawa, as Batherson then scored twice and Tkachuk into an empty net. 4-2 is the deciding score.
And it was really then up to the Leafs, and especially the big guys, to respond. You know, you're on the ice, you give up the goal, it makes it 2-1 shorthanded, and they weren't able to do it. And the Ottawa Senators then smelt a little bit of fear in the air here at Scotiabank Arena, and were able to take advantage of it. But like we said, you know, if this was only one game, you'd excuse it. But now you looked at this stretch and said, oh, you got Columbus twice, you got Buffalo, you got Ottawa. You could really leap up the standings during this stretch. But so far the Leafs have won 1 of the 3. As we mentioned, the second time they've lost to the Senators at home. And yeah, let's bring on the Blue Jackets.
Well, that will be Friday night. We'll have that action for you beginning at 7 o'clock. We hope that you will join us then. And until then, we will ship it to Mr. Taddy for the post-game show as the Leafs drop a 4-2 decision to the Ottawa Senators. You've been listening to Molson Leaf Hockey on TSN 1050 and the Maple Leafs Radio Network.
As we say goodbye to 2023, toast your favorite NFL team for all the excitement and cheer they bring you throughout the year.
Happy New Year!
This is Steve Torrey. Join Bill Leckus and me for a New Year's Eve edition of the Sunday Drive at noon Eastern for live listen-ins, guests, and playoff scenarios around the NFL.
Pumps once, throws, end zone, caught! Game over!
We close out 2023 with a bang, so join us on the Sunday Drive at noon Eastern on NFL Radio, Channel 88, and the Sirius XM app.
The best player analysts and insiders live on NHL Network Radio. Mike Johnson.
5-on-5 defensive game for Tampa is getting to the point, Gord, where it is a concern. And it's not just because Vasilevsky hasn't played the entire season. They're giving up almost 4 goals a game. No matter how good your offense is, that's not going to be able to be sustainable.
Get the latest opinion and analysis you need on the home of hockey, NHL Network Radio, Sirius XM 91, and the Sirius XM app. The Power Play with Steve Koulias.
Not only is Sidney Crosby one of the greatest, probably top 5 NHL players of all time, and there's some non-hockey people in Pittsburgh that don't want to hear this, he's as good and as important as anyone who's ever played for the Pittsburgh Steelers. Whether you want to understand that or not, put that in your pipe and smoke it.
The Power Play, weekdays 3 p.m. Eastern on NHL Network Radio, Sirius XM 91, and the Sirius XM app. 24/7 hockey talk.
One of the greatest goaltenders of all time, Patrick Waugh. When you put your hands up, did you know at that moment that you were done?
No, I did not. Unfortunately, it happened. Just gave me a chance to have a fresh start somewhere else and be traded to Colorado was a good opportunity. Sometimes you need that little, change, and it was welcome for me.
Sirius XM, NHL Network Radio, Sirius XM 91, and on your schedule with the Sirius XM app. The Point with Boomer Gordon.
18 months ago, I had new Flyers head coach John Tortorella. And I asked him what he was worried about the club, and he said, I don't like the room. We have a bad room. And I'm like, you haven't even coached this team yet. A year and a half later, John Tortorella loves his room. He loves this team, and he loves that they compete every night.
Point with Boomer Gordon. 1 p.m. Eastern on NHL Network Radio, Sirius XM 91, and the Sirius XM app.
If you're a soccer fan, you know that this music means one thing. The Champions League is on Sirius XM FC.
Hat-trick for Erling Haaland. Kane scores!
The top teams from around Europe are battling for club soccer's holy grail.
Real Madrid do what they do best. What a start for Inter!
Hear all the top Champions League matches all tournament long on Sirius XM FC 157 and streaming on the Sirius XM app.
The biggest names in the game.
Trying to get behind Ristolainen.
What's up, Leafs fans? Another awesome night here on TSI. Thank you to each and every one of you for hanging out with us. Please don't forget to hit that like button as it helps bring more Leafs fans into the chat. The more the better. A big shout out to our insiders and VIP members. Your support is truly appreciated. I cannot explain to you what it means for this community. Please consider joining our community. It's only 99 cents a month. I made it as low as possible so that we can get more and more people joining our community. Awesome member exclusive emojis in the chat during these Leafs games, and add your name to the scroll down below. Anyways, enough of the necessary evils to keep growing this amazing Toronto sports community and Maple Leafs community. Back to Leafs hockey. Go Leafs go. I'll see you guys in the chat. Peace.
Yeah, Bertuzzi had another chance. Corpusalo just got a piece of it, sweeping his glove. That's kind of when you know this isn't their night. Yeah. I mean, this is, when things are going well, those are fine in the back of the net easily. And the Leafs didn't have an answer. And I mean, you could talk about the game-winning goal, but your elite players are on the ice at an opportunity midway through the second period. And at the time, it looked like you can put the game away. Yeah. You score here. Ottawa really hadn't challenged the Leafs much through the first half of the game, and then there it is. There's the gift-wrapped opportunity, and the Ottawa Senators suddenly went, we're in this. Yeah. And I think that happens, so often with the Leafs playing against teams that are below them in the standings, and, going through it again. If you go through the bottom 7 teams in the NHL in the standings right now, the Leafs have not played 3 of them, which includes the Edmonton Oilers, San Jose, and the Anaheim Mighty Ducks. Is it Mighty Ducks still? Yeah, still. I don't know whether I don't know why.
Probably a lot of nostalgics listening to the show.
Yeah, the Ducks, whatever.
Anyway, the 4 teams that they have played at the bottom of the standings, which includes Chicago, Ottawa, Columbus, and Buffalo, the Leafs have won 2 out of 9.
Oh.
And I think that's where you could take one game and say, well, it's one game.
Yeah.
But when you got 7 of them,
that's bad.
And we're not even into January yet. That's when you're saying, okay, there's got to be a flaw, a fly in the ointment somewhere where the inability to put teams blow you away. And, now what the Leafs will do to you, I mean, they could turn around and lose Columbus, And then there's going to be some panic, and then they'll start rattling off wins against the likes of Boston. Yeah, there'll be Carolina, Boston, whoever else they got coming down the pipe. They said if you're a Leaf fan, it's like that relationship that as soon as you say that's it, I'm done, they do something to kind of bring you back in, and you think, okay, this is comfortable, I'm happy again.
As a lifelong Detroit Lions fan, I can tell you it could be worse. It could be worse.
Every single night this season, you don't know what you're going to get from this team.
Yeah.
Every single game you come in, and like we can say, okay, they were coming off a 3-day break, the Christmas break. So were the Senators.
Yeah.
Yep.
You know.
Oh no, there's no excuse. Yeah, there was no that Ottawa had an advantage or anything else.
You know, we were pumping this team's tires after the first period, but like I think when you really break it down, they played well for 10 minutes in that first period?
10, 12 minutes.
And then I think the scoreline was kind of flattering to the Leafs afterwards, right? The Senators really, really played well. It's got to be frustrating. We talked about this in the intermission, Tap Man. It's got to be frustrating for Brad Treliving to watch this happen again and again and again and just say, how much longer until I have to do something pretty drastic, I think, to just settle this team down. And that sounds strange to say I need to add and make a big deal and that'll settle things down. But the instability in this team and the fact that, you sometimes don't even know what you're going to get period to period with this team. And that's got to be so frustrating for Sheldon Keefe right now. Right, I can't imagine what he said after the second intermission or during the second intermission. Because this looks like a team that's probably going to get skated to the wind tomorrow morning at practice, because they didn't have it tonight. But again, they just don't have that consistency game to game. And I think if we're looking big picture, that's what's really concerning right now.
Yeah, and part of that is that hunger to put a team away.
Yeah,
to come in and say, and I think. Not to put this all on the group they've got right now, but when you go back over the last few years even, the Leafs have been part of great storylines that have involved other teams doing something miraculous. Whether it was, remember, Vancouver was out with COVID and had it really bad. They come back, they're still ailing, they beat the Leafs 2 games, back-to-back games. We can go through the David Ayres story. We can go through the story where Ottawa was down 5-1 here in this building. There were no fans during the COVID season, and they came back. Montreal comes back from a 3-1 deficit in the playoffs to win. And there's something about this killer mentality that's missing. That we've got an opportunity. Let's put the game away here. Let's, now on the other side of that, and as Josh was saying, because this goes both ways, they're never really out of it either. As bad as you think they are early in a game, they can come back and get something. But I think eventually, like we said, if you want to be considered or taken seriously as one of the elite teams in the league, you continue with one, but you got to fix the other for that to happen. Like I said, they've had some great comebacks, but there have been some embarrassing no-shows as well.
It's the old half full, half empty. I don't know, but there's water in that glass.
Yeah. Let's put it this way. I mean, if somebody was going to say you were the most exciting team in the NHL, I don't think you would want that to be at both ends of the ice. I think
for 2 different reasons.
Yeah, you would rather be a little more exciting on a consistent basis in the offensive zone.
I don't think Sheldon Keefe wants this team to be exciting. I think this team at their best last year, when Sheldon Keefe was the most happy about this team last year, the first thing he always brought up was how defensively responsible they were, how defensively sound they were. And, obviously hindsight is 20/20, but we were talking about additions. I start to think about some of the players missing from this lineup, players that I'm not necessarily going to say were run out of Toronto, but players that sometimes didn't get full adoration from the fan base. The Alex Kerfoots, the Justin Halls, these really kind of safe, sound players. That's all it seems like all they're missing right now.
Well, I don't necessarily totally agree with that. I know what you're saying. But those type of players to me they're here for a while and then they go. And you can't focus on they're not here. It's who you replace them with. I think that's where the deficiency is. I think there's built-in movement on every roster. People are going to leave. You can't re-sign everybody, but you have to make sure you replace them with like players. And maybe that's the difference.
Well, I think the difference is right now they are lacking the type of players that know how to shut things down. right? Again, like Alex Kerfoot was not a player that was going to play with his hair on fire, but when he was on the ice, he had those Calle Yarncroc type qualities that like plays wouldn't die on his stick. There weren't a lot of turnovers. It was just safe hockey. He's the kind of player you could count on in the third period. And you watch this team in the third period. Obviously tonight was different because they're trying to come back. What kind of players right now do you kind of say Sheldon Keefe can throw them over the boards and he won't worry about them at all? Right?
Yeah.
For those listening at home, like Tapman just gave me the look that you never want to get.
No,
somewhere it was a cringe, it was a shrug.
Well, it was guy.
Yeah, it was a
guy.
I don't know guy, and I really think that's what's lacking right now.
Well, so they didn't replace those guys. They let them go and they didn't replace them properly.
But again,
Does that make sense?
But then, how much longer is Brad Treliving going to wait?
Well, you can't. This to me is, if you've diagnosed the problem and you don't deal with it, then that's a bigger problem.
Yeah. Although the other side of it is, I mean, especially if you want to look to the goaltending side, that's a pretty long line right now of general managers saying we need some help between the pipes, which leads you to believe,
problem.
which leads you to believe there's nothing out there. There are no upgrades out there,
or the price is too high. Or the price is too high because they're dealing from a place of weakness.
Yeah, and I don't know, when is the last time? It'll be an interesting thing to look up. The last time that there was a goalie trade mid-season where he became a significant part of a Stanley Cup run.
Patrick Waugh.
Yeah, that was, November?
Yeah, it's a long time ago.
Yeah, and Colorado. And, I mean, he'd already won a cup with Montreal. Yeah. I mean, that's... Yeah, that might be, Jimmer, that might be like the Puckdoku.
Well, I mean, like
the top scorer.
First of all, you have to go through goalies of that caliber that were traded.
Yeah.
And then what they went on to. I mean, those two items right there are pretty rare. Yeah. You don't see a guy of that caliber traded very often.
I don't think that kind of goalie is available on the market. I don't think the Leafs would be willing to pay what it would cost. And I don't think they'd be willing to do it knowing that it's probably more of a Band-Aid solution. Yeah. Right now, knowing that, like, Joseph Woll, who was always going to be the guy, right? If it wasn't clear, like this last month, it was increasingly apparent, in the weeks beforehand, he was going to be the guy. He was going to be the playoff starter. So you would be dealing for, and this is where the Leafs are kind of stuck. They have to just ride with what they have right now, right?
Yeah.
We were.
Well, and you know what? And a lot of people thought Tampa was going to go and get Martin Jones off the waiver wire at the end of training camp for the same reason, and. It was like the line. He said, look, we're just going to battle and try to keep our head above water until we get Vasilevsky back. And, of course, what's happened, there have been some struggles for Tampa since then. It's so often you get that letdown when you get somebody back. You think, wow, we did it. We're still in the mix, and we got our guy back. And then you have that little dip. But you would be hard-pressed, or I would be anyway, if somebody says, who should they go get? And who's the guy?
Well,
you got to go at. You're going.
There's a goaltending shortage in this league right now.
Yeah,
and are you willing to pay a second-round pick for because that's probably what it would cost right now because the demand is so high, the supply is so low.
Second-round pick wouldn't bother me. First would.
Yeah, even talking to Steve Stamos before the game.
If you saw Josh's look that he just gave me, I really couldn't say the words on the air.
No guy. Yeah,
polite no guy.
Yeah, but even we talk about how. I mean, the early 2000s, it was like everybody had great goaltending.
Yeah.
And what's happened now is the forwards, the shooters, have figured out the goaltending, which is bar down. It's the little drag move. It's the expose the reverse V8.
Change the angle on the shot.
Yeah, throw in a Michigan here and there. And all of a sudden, it's the goaltending that has now got to catch up. And I think a big part of that, the difference in the games, is now where it used to be, box everybody out so I can see it. Now it's you've got the forward layer for to block the shot, followed by a defenseman. Now you got 15 players in front of the net where it's all changed. And now you've got guys that have that little toe drag to change the angle, where before that was an elite player that would do that. Now you see Noel Achari scoring from the goal line up under the crossbar. So you've got a lot of guys that were considered, maybe average players or 15 to 20 goal guys that still have the ability to snipe like the 60-goal guy.
So let me throw this at you. As a former goaltender, Let me say this about that. As a former goaltender, you might appreciate this. I find that this game, if you're in your own zone, it's hard to defend. There's only so much you can do. You can't use your stick for anything. How many times do you see 2 or 3 guys in front of their goalies just standing there? They don't do anything. They're locked in their position, and I mean, I think it's really difficult to defend in your own zone if you're there for a length of time.
Yeah, and especially when the goal is to just get it and get it out, not even make a play. Just try to get it out where you get a line change in, and I guess that's where, getting back to this game tonight, where you can be a little critical of the Leafs because they weren't able to take advantage of Ottawa in doing the same thing.
I was there for them.
Other than the first 7 or 8 minutes. And it looked like one of those games the way they started. As we mentioned, Bertuzzi missed an empty net before he scored.
Yeah.
And you were thinking, this could be one of those 6-1, 7-1 wins if they can keep their foot on the pedal. And then it takes one moment, the second period, to unravel.
The other thing I'll say is Korpisalo made some big saves. Like, you'd look down and go, remember the start of the third period, 2 big saves.
Yes. Yeah, they didn't get, the Nyes one, we kind of thought it changed directions in front, whether it was an Ottawa play or not. But you thought maybe at that point you're going, boy, is that it? Is that the bad goal that's going to sink Ottawa? And it didn't. And it was really, what the Leafs served up on the shorthanded goal by Parker Kelly.
Still at a loss for words. I know you're looking at me here, but still just at a loss for words.
It's a hard game to analyze.
Well, you get a goal, you get a third goal, which was ultimately, the backbreaker that bounces off Martin Jones's neck, right? And so
from below the goal line.
From below the goal line, it just, I think it just comes, for me, it just comes back to, the mental state that this team is in right now, where we talk about them being unable to really put their foot down and put the stranglehold on, on a game. I think there's a mental side to that too, where they don't know, like, does this team really feel they have the ability to do that? Right?
Boy, you have to feel that. Otherwise, it'll never happen.
When the Leafs were really cooking, against the Lightning last year in the playoffs, I look at the impacts of guys like Ryan O'Reilly and Luke Shen, who came in, right, and real, like, these, we're talking in generalities here, but no nonsense guys.
Well, especially for Shen. So what Shen brought to the table was, in that stuff that happens after the whistle, when he was there, everybody left. There was none of that because they knew that they'd have to deal with him. And O'Reilly did a lot of that up front. There was just no messing around with those 2 guys. So that's an element that's missing.
Oh, unless you're William Lagesson. Like, we're looking at William Lagesson to bring that kind of, I think snot was the term that Brad Treliving used. It just feels like this team's vision hasn't really come to fruition yet, and we're kind of waiting. And again, I just keep saying it. How long is Brad Treliving prepared to wait?
We had the discussion in Overdrive on have the Leafs address the problem, the toughness, and how they respond and everything. And I remember the discussion we got into was, no, they haven't, because we're always talking about how the Leafs are going to respond as opposed to being the aggressors to see how the other team responds. I'm sorry, going back to the late 90s, early 2000s, when the Leafs had the likes of Gary Roberts and Shane Corson, Darcy Tucker, and Ty Domi, nobody questioned how the Leafs were going to respond. It was, how's Ottawa going to respond?
Right.
Because they were, back then, they were more skilled. They had more talent than the Leafs. And it came down to goaltending and toughness that seemed to be the difference in the series.
Oh, the Leafs were dictating play then.
Yes. Yeah, they were the aggressors. It wasn't about what are they going to do when somebody takes a run at us.
Okay, so
how about we run them first?
Okay, but on that team, you'd easily be able to say the team identity is they take the play to you. What's this team's identity?
This team's identity is let us know how you're going to play, and we'll try to respond to it. So if you're the Boston Bruins, we'll respond to a team that's great defensively. We'll come back twice in 2 games against Boston and get a point because that's the challenge we're up for. And if you're below us, then okay, we'll stick around with you guys.
Yeah,
and like I said, it comes down to there's this certain mentality that the teams that go on deep playoff runs and everything else have that when there's that moment in the game, when you got a power play and it's 2-0 in the second period, it's game over.
Right. If the opportunity's there, they take advantage.
Yes. And, until they can start saying, boys, we've got to treat this like we're in overtime. Yeah. And here's our opportunity in a power play to put this game away.
Those are habits, right?
And the concern there is it's going to take more than one or two players to address that.
It's all of them.
Change, I'm sitting here going on about, well, they need like a Chris Tanev type, which maybe they do. But this is more of I don't want to say an institutional problem, but like it's pretty clear this isn't something that like one deal, even though that's what I think a lot of people want right now. It's pretty clear this is something that one deal isn't going to make or isn't going to fix.
Well, it's like team DNA or culture,
right? And it's too. I don't know if too bad is the right term, but like Brad Treliving came in when he was hired, and it was pretty clear he had a vision that was not the antithesis of Kyle Dubas's teams, but he wanted his teams to play tougher again. He used, it kind of harkened back to the days of, truculence, right? When he was saying we need snot, we need to be tough to play against,
sandpaper, whatever.
Yeah,
but I would say this, that the moves that he made in the offseason, I don't think there was anybody that said, that's a bad sign. Tyler Bertuzzi, no, that's not. That's exactly what you needed. Max Domi's got a little bit of an edge to him. So I think when you looked at the guys that were brought in, whether it was enough, whether it addressed the issues on the blue line or not, it was one of those. It was like what Ottawa's done. Bringing in Tarasenko and certain moves that were made. You're going, you know what? Those are good moves.
Yeah.
It's easy to say 2 months later or 3 months later if they don't work out. But for the most part, I thought, you know what? He is getting guys with a little more character. And there's sort of the Bertuzzi-Darcy Tucker comparison. Max will throw the odd sucker punch. And Ryan Reeves has a pretty good history in the NHL. So, I was among those that said, boy, these are...
I like them,
especially the Bertuzzi Domi signings. You were saying these are two guys that have a little bit of grit and toughness that can play, and Reeves is there for cause and effect for the most part. But I didn't look at any of those moves and thought why would you go in that direction? But for whatever reason, it hasn't tilted that entire DNA of the hockey club to play in a similar way.
And that's what's kind of concerning too. It's tough if you're, Tyler Bertuzzi and your Max Domi. A lot of the players they brought in were on 1-year deals. It's difficult when you come into a team and there is a very well-defined core to kind of establish your presence. And I'm not saying Domi and Bertuzzi, for example, are holding anything back or they're not playing to their potential. It's not that. But Ralphie, it's not easy to come into a team and just say, this is who I am and I'm going to make an impact right away. You sort of got to ease your way into it, and it's harder when you're on a 1-year deal.
Yeah, and the other side with that, because, I think Max Domi's got 3 goals in his last 11 games. Now all 3 have come in the last 11 games. Bertuzzi just ended a 12-game scoring drought tonight. The other thing that's difficult is to come in, and I think even with Ryan Reeves and the minuses early on in the season, Jim Bouton's book, Ball 4, he wrote about how you cannot be a loud cheerleader, rah-rah guy in the clubhouse if you're not going well.
Yep.
You can't come in and as an example, Ryan Reeves can't come in and say, look, guys, we got to be better in our own end. Yep. You're going, wait, guy, look at the, Tyler or Max Domi saying, boys, we got to shoot the puck more. Yeah. We got to get the puck to the net more, and you're going, wait a minute. So that's just part of professional sports where you can't be the guy unless you're leading by example. So it's that made it, I think, those long stretches without offense makes it even tougher to say, boy, I don't know if I can make an impact just by finishing my checks or just by starting a scrum after a whistle. It's more tied to what I can do offensively as well. So that's kind of a fine line with confidence and your ability to take on a role of a leader. You still got to be doing well before you can do that or be vocal about it.
That kind of scene that you described there is really the creation of Yes Guy right there. Hey, guys, we got a Yes Guy. Let's see you.
Yeah. Well, yeah, that was the alter ego invention of no guy, too. I think when somebody gets it up going, you go, no guy. No, you're not.
Ralphie, thanks for hanging around. Appreciate it.
Boys. We'll see you soon.
Yeah, text when you get home.
All right. I'll text you when I get to the car.
Okay, good. Yeah, we're going to play-by-play. Ralphie's now entering the car. Oh, look out. Somebody cut in front of him. 4-2 Ottawa wins over the Leafs. This is Leafs Game Night live from Scotiabank Arena on TSN 1050, the iHeartRadio app, and the Leafs Radio Network.
Unhibernate. Verb. To laugh in the face of snow because you drive a Subaru. As in, when I unhibernate, I have the roads all to myself because my Subaru has symmetrical full-time all-wheel drive and others don't. Or, the award-winning safety in my Subaru means I can unhibernate all winter while my neighbors stare longingly from their bedroom windows. Or my favorite usage, I'm going to unhibernate this winter by visiting my local Subaru dealer today. Welcome to Uncommon Winter Confidence.
Want to be certain your reno goes right? Start with Pro Materials with CertainTeed Drywall. In fire resistant, water resistant, super durable, or soundproof and top quality insulation. Ceiling systems, premium shingles, and siding. Do it right with professional grade building materials from CertainTeed. Pro all the way.
From the biggest stadiums to the coziest holes in the wall. From house parties to porch hangs to pride celebrations. From your favorite fuss shop to your local Indian spot. From noodle bars to sports bars to salsa bars. There's a Molson with your name on it. Canadian Ultra XL. Molson. Everyone in. Must be legal drinking age.
Leafs Game Night 4-2 Ottawa wins over the Leafs in a night that, it slipped away. And here's Sheldon Keefe, the head coach of the Leafs, talking about how this one got away from the Maple Leafs.
To let them hang around, I thought they were better than us in the second period for sure. I think that the period looks a lot worse because our power play gives them a freebie and gives them life and energy, and some of our details just slipped really on each of the goals against, but I thought Ottawa got better and harder as the game went on, and we didn't respond to that.
There's a lack of execution, do you think? Because usually a lot of those pucks win from you guys.
The puck's laying around the crease and the goal line. I don't know. That stuff that's the ebbs and flows of the league, right? Sometimes those ones don't go in, and sometimes you're scoring from below the goal line, you're scoring from the wall, you're scoring off bodies, If you remember back, what it was, was it the Ranger game maybe or something, where everything's bouncing off us and going in the net, and some of the luck has gone the other way a little bit. Tonight again, maybe the same thing. Puck's laying around the crease, doesn't go in. They shoot one from below the goal line, goes in. But to me, it's just some of the details of our game. There's things that we'd like to do a whole lot better on each of the goals that we gave up.
One of the things about this team the last few years anyways, second periods you were always the better team, always a forward for opposition. This year that's not happening. Is that something you're working on, or is that something you've noticed as well?
Yeah, certainly aware of it. Yeah, it's to me, when things don't go well for us, we don't move the puck efficiently from our defense to our forwards, breakouts, regroups, and second period. That's if you don't do those things well in the second period, the period is not going to go well. That's been an issue for us the entire season.
The power play, do you think that's a blip of one bad night, or is that something?
Yeah, I'm just going to chalk it up as a group that that hasn't played, and take a few days off, and something like the power play maybe it's not going to be as sure. But I thought what I didn't love about it is I thought we were really outworked on our power play, and that part's not acceptable. There's the execution pieces. Ultimately the goal that we give up, we have full possession of the puck and we don't execute a pass and give it right back to them. But a lot of the other issues on the power play where it's just Ottawa simply outworking us in those spots. Same with the 6-on-5.
What did you think about Martin Jones tonight?
Yeah, I thought he was fine. Each of the goals. Obviously, the third goal is kind of a funky one there. He's put in a tough spot, on that one. And the goals that they got can't give those chances up,
Sheldon Keefe, after the 4-2 loss to the Ottawa Senators, certainly the power plays is a relevant stat just because PK in Ottawa isn't that good. I mean, there was an opportunity there.
Yeah, the things that he said that stuck out to me, he just talked about Ottawa playing better and harder, right?
Working harder, yeah.
That's kind of an inadvertent shot at your team. You got outworked by a team that, at least on paper is far worse than you. And, he's watching the same game that you, me, and Ralphie are, and he literally identifies what Ralphie identified, saying that, this is a Leafs team that tonight didn't respond. Right. And I do wonder, at what point in the season is, the dam going to break, and is Sheldon Keefe going to start saying to his team, when are we going to start making other teams respond to us? Because then he goes on to say that we got outworked. You can, in a way, chalk it up to like he said, this being the first game after the break and guys are sluggish, but yeah,
there's too many examples of that, though.
Sure, and I just think that's something that we're still waiting for. Is this team to just start being more dominant and look like a team that is gearing up for the time in the season when it matters, which is the playoffs, because. If we're concerned about where this team is at right now and what kind of team is going to show up night to night, in a smaller sample size in a 7-game series, if you don't show up 2 games in a row and you don't know what team is going to show up 2 games in a row,
that's bad.
It's over.
Yeah, that's bad.
Right? So I think that's something that Sheldon Keefe really has to look at. Is it's one thing to lose a game if you're not outworked. You compete. Maybe you lose by a bounce here and there. And he referenced the Ranger game where a lot of the goals are fluky goals, and maybe the one goal, the third goal against Jones, is a fluke goal. You don't see goals go off a goalie's neck very often, but losing and getting outworked, not a recipe for success. And again, that's why I don't think this is just something that can be pinned on one guy. The more and more nights that you look at a team and you say it's not on one guy, right? You remember back to that series against Tampa Bay in 2022 where there were just a series of mistakes, Galchenyuk, Dermott, right? There were just single errors that might have cost them a game. When it's not a single error, it's just I hate to make it so simplistic, but a lack of effort. This is really, really concerning.
Well, you're talking about situations where you actually help the other team beat you, giveaways, things like that, because you're being too generous. Teams that win the Stanley Cup don't give you anything. So the question is, when does that start? The best example I could that would feed into a positive narrative here would be the year St. Louis won the Cup and they fired their coach, and in late January they're dead last, and then they piece it together.
Are you implying that something like that has to happen?
No. I'm just saying that's how rare that is.
Yeah.
Most of the time, the team that wins the Cup starts the season and aspires to do that and finds its way early in the year, and by the time you get into the playoffs, they're giving you nothing. And they do that for 4 rounds, and that's why they win.
I mean, what's that viral scene from that coach in the NFL? They are who we thought they are.
Oh, yeah.
You want to crown them. They are who they thought they are. And I think we're getting to that place with this Leafs team. This is who they are, right? They are an unpredictable, up-and-down team. Who knows, that could work in a 7-game series. You could rattle off 3 wins in a row and just build on momentum, but it's not sustainable.
The flip side is nobody expected Florida to do much last year, and look where they got to.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like this is the first year Brad Treliving, and he kind of was able to go into this season and say, look, we can. We're going to stick with the core. We believe in this core, and we believe we're continuing to build towards something. But everything I've seen of this team this season, and we're thinking and talking really big picture here, but it feels like a little bit 1 step forward, 2 steps back. Right?
Well, it's not consistent.
I don't think they've hit the highs, and I don't think they've hit the consistency of some of Kyle Dubas's best teams did. And that's not to imply that there's anything on Tree Living. It's just the pieces as assembled haven't really come together yet. And I think that's why we're seeing the lack of consistency.
Yeah, and as I said earlier, I'm not going to worry about a game, the first game back after Christmas, but we're talking this way in late January, there's a problem.
Well, how many times have you had this kind of conversation post-game where you're like, you're essentially you're summing up the game by going, like it's just not enough.
Many times.
Not enough, right?
I think I lost count of those.
Well, this Leafs team as assembled right now, it has the propensity to really excite fans in a way that some Leaf teams in the past have not.
When they're skating, and Coach Keefe said that, when they're not moving the puck, standing around, not generating anything, it doesn't go well for them.
Like there's been 4 or 5 games this season, 5 tops, where they've looked like world beaters, and there have been a lot more games this season where we still don't know what they are.
4-2 Ottawa wins. This is Leafs Game Night on TSN 1050 and the Leafs Radio Network.
Bonjour.
Hello.
Voudriez-vous apprendre une autre langue?
Would you like to learn another?
Let's go, football fans.
This week on Let's Go with Tom Brady and Larry Fitzgerald and me, Jim Gray. Special guest, John Legend.
The big comeback against the Falcons, Mr. Kraft booked me to play that party regardless of win or lose. You finally came back and won the game in such legendary fashion. You made my gig a lot easier.
Listen now to the extended version of Let's Go, exclusively on the SiriusXM app, included with all our trials and popular plans.
Let's go, baby.
Let's go. Under review.
And if someone says, well, he's good in the room, you know what? They don't have a good in the room stat in the standings. I've yet to find that category. It's one of the most overplayed things. They better be good in the room. That's the least you better bring when you join a National Hockey League team.
Under review with Mick Kerr, 11 a.m. Eastern on NHL Network Radio, Sirius XM 91, and the Sirius XM app.
Hey Toronto, I'm David Morsuti, host of the daily Toronto Maple Leafs podcast, Locked On Leafs, part of the Locked On Podcast Network on the Sirius XM app. Every weekday, we bring you the latest Leafs news and analysis, break down all the action, including this game you're listening to right now, and preview the next one. We're giving you everything a Leafs fan could want, all in a daily 30-minute podcast. Download Locked On Leafs right now on the Sirius XM app, available with all trials and popular plans, or where you get your podcasts. Search Locked On.
If you're a soccer fan, you know that this music means one thing. The Champions League is on Sirius XM FC.
Hat-trick for Erling Haaland. Kane scores.
The top teams from around Europe are battling for club soccer's holy grail.
Real Madrid do what they do best. What a start for Inter.
Hear all the top Champions League matches all tournament long on Sirius XM FC 157 and streaming on the Sirius XM app.
Join me, Gord Stellick, and Scott Laughlin as we recap the night that was on NHL Morning Skate, weekday mornings at 7 a.m. Eastern on NHL Network Radio, Sirius XM 91.
Game night, live from Scotiabank Arena. Now, we talked about a lot of things, but I'm really adamant on this. If you've got a goaltending problem in this league at this time, I wish you well. There's no easy answer to that one.
And there's literally, I wish we could come up with some creative ways to get listeners engaged and get them thinking. There's no fix for this Leafs team in net right now.
No. There's no fix for any NHL team in net right now.
Yes, and that's a big part of it. I just, if you're Brad Treliving, again, like, we can disagree about this, but I think, a second-round pick is far, far too much to pay for a Band-Aid solution. But you're not bringing up Dennis Hildeby.
No.
Right, you can't do that to the kid who's literally in his first professional North American season. You have to give Samsonov a little bit of time, but you also have to remind him, hey, you're needed around here. That's a way to build your confidence back up. You're not going to, and it's all complicated too by the fact that Joseph Woll. And Sheldon Keefe said this as soon as he was injured, or as soon as he was diagnosed with the high ankle sprain. The precariousness in the movement of the position is such that, like, you have to be extra careful with bringing him back. So whereas with Timothy Liljegren had the high ankle sprain, his movement's a lot more predictable, so you can bring him back on, kind of a 6-7 week timeline, and that. Like, again, Sheldon Keefe was asked about Joseph Wall today, and he, just did the hands in the air emoji. Like, I haven't received a Joseph Wall update. We're not going to get one for a while. So for the Leafs, you're just hoping and waiting, or probably waiting and hoping for the best.
That's got at least 2 months written all over it for me, maybe more.
But again, like you know that you need him back, sure.
Yeah,
but you also know that you have enough goal scoring that some nights you should be able to score your way out of problems. Tonight felt like the night where they could have scored their way out of problems, but there's nothing the Leafs can do. They are in a position. Brad Treliving is in a position where he has to stockpile or just hold on to the limited assets he does have to make a move for a forward and a defenseman, probably more like 2 defensemen, and probably make those moves again if you're anything like Dubas ahead of the deadline. I think what we've learned is that the sooner you can acquire the player, even if the price is a little bit higher, that acclimation period is important. So the goaltender problem, it's going to continue, right? There's no solution for it. Martin Jones has shown that he can have his nights where he can not necessarily win you a game, but do enough to help you win a game.
Well, tonight would have been one of them.
You don't let shots go off your neck.
That's a tough one, though. That's a high shot from a weird spot. I mean, how would he have prevented that from happening?
Even if that one, the second one really bothered me, the really, really egregious rebound right in front of the net.
Yeah.
Right. That's a technical problem that you can clean up. I don't know. It's not on them, and it's not a problem you can fix, but it is something you have to be aware of, because it feels like there's going to be nights where their goaltending is going to let them down, and you're going to have to wait. I wish I had a better answer.
Well, I just think that in this team, the goaltending shouldn't be the reason you lose. You can outscore your problems. The power play didn't help you out tonight. You had all kinds of goal mouth scrambles that didn't go in. The goaltender for the Leafs would be the last guy I would talk about.
Again, we talk about the mental side for this team. When the goaltender is kind of the goaltending situation as a whole is shaky, that just impacts the team's confidence as again, we keep talking big picture here, but I think that's where the team is at.
Josh, you should take the rest of the night off.
Oh, I dearly appreciate that, man.
I'm just too generous.
Among other things.
All right, 4-2 Ottawa wins. This is Leafs Game Night live from Scotiabank Arena on TSN 1050 and the Leafs Radio Network.
You've been listening to NHL Play-by-Play on SiriusXM. Head over to SiriusXM NHL Network Radio, SiriusXM 91, for the best hockey talk.
Better people, make them better players, and I believe I did that. And I think, and I stick by the fact that there was a lot of things that happened this year that kind of derailed us whatever at the end here. But I stick by the fact that I really believe if we got healthy that there'd be a real push for the playoffs, at the end, despite the amount of injuries and everything. And just, it is what it is. Never got that opportunity. I'll work on my game and be a better coach for it. But, at the end of the day, they're great kids. There's some great leadership in there. And this city's going to be proud. The boys are going to get it done for you.
You weren't the first coach, and you won't be the last to start, with a complete rebuild, build the team up, but ultimately not able to see it through to playoff success, Stanley Cups, etc. Why do you think it's so difficult, the previous coaches and yourself to kind of to achieve the ultimate success?
Well, I think at the end of the day too, sometimes the expectations got to be managed, and I think we probably started the clock a little bit soon talking about playoffs, and you can't sit there and tell the people that it's probably not realistic, but when you were working with a $50 million salary cap a couple of years ago, and we're talking about it's time to win now, it's just not realistic in the real hockey circles. When you're talking about, when you look at the roster itself, and I believe the rebuild was done right. They tore it completely down, and you end up with Ridley Gregg, and you have all these pieces that are there. But I think this year was probably the only true and fair time to say, okay, this team should make the playoffs. And I think that put a lot of pressure on the players, and maybe slowed it down a bit. But at the end of the day, if they don't make it this year, they're going to make it next year, and I believe the organization is set up for success for a long time.
Is there anything you would have done differently? Let's just say within the last year, heading into this season.
At the end of the day, certainly you'd want to try some different things, but I mean, there's a lot of really good things. For whatever reasons, bad bounces, goaltending, whatever the case may be, we got scored on, too much. But there's some changes that I made that I will certainly take with me elsewhere.
Follow every second of the action on NHL Network Radio. From behind the bench to every play on the ice. If it's hockey, it's on SiriusXM NHL Network.